Oh shit.
Shut up! We're starting the show. Y'all are infidels. We're burning witches tonight. Not even Smoking the Bear is going to be able to save your ancestors this time, you stupid moron.
Someone in the comments picked him with a band-aid. That was good. I'm sorry, that was fucking good. Anyways.
Well, that's my job as a woman, I think, first and foremost. And then as a writer, I got to maintain some level of like, making sure that you know your place.
Everything that they've done since claiming the PS5 is for hardcore gamers. It's just simply appeal to the casuals.
That's about it. Follow me on Twitter. Preserve film, just like preserving video games. I don't know.
Hunter! What's up? In the White House? Seriously?
Well, Marvel and what Stan Lee, I think, I don't know if it was genius or lazy. It's just like, we'll just put them all in one city. We won't even make up a fictionless and we'll just use new.
Here are the night. What you got coming up for tomorrow?
I'm perfectly sober.
Lies.
Thank you.
Are you home? Do you have children? Must not you be their hope? Are there future generations from all of us who have failed them?
And the mom shaming, a term typically used to highlight harsh judgment of birthing people.
Who wrote this shit? Who wrote this shit?
Road.
What up, homies? We're back here. It is episode 66 of the Barroom Podcast, and we're joined here with a lovely group of I need to stop saying lovely. I need to find another adjective to describe you people, because lovely's not the one that I would go with. With these homely looking people here on the Barroom Podcast. We're
I'm glad you
here
didn't
tonight.
say fuckable.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, you brought it up now, so you made it awkward and weird. But hey, how you doing there, Cider?
I'm still alive, thanks to Rob screwing up.
Yeah, apparently Rob was trying to kill Cider earlier, but he failed miserably, so shouldn't be much of a surprise, though, at the end of the day. But...
Catch you next time, Cider!
Amazing.
I did notice that the clip that we had used on that intro there, your hair is a lot shorter than it is now. I didn't even notice exactly just how long your hair has gotten there. So, are you trying to go like full like Bret Hitman Hart on us?
I told you! You don't listen! I told you! I'm doing it! I'm bringing it back! Except for the family murder. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, I mean, you don't really want Bret Hart's family history at this point.
Yeah, we're not doing that part. But the pink and the long hair. Oh, yeah.
We're going to rock it out. Also joining us somewhere deep in his kitchen at the moment is Orange Hat. How you doing today, Orange?
I'm doing well. Just hanging out.
Just here. That's about much as you can ask. Joining us back on the show once again is our good buddy Rob Motto. I think you've pretty much just given up on trying to beat Cassie for most appearances here on this show at this point. But how you doing? At least you can take second place, right?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I have to work for a living, so I and that was not a slam at anybody. That's just I work during. Every other week I work during when it's on. So, but yeah, no, I'm just watching movies, just as always, trying not to lose my mind and save money. in this terrible economy. So hope everybody's doing well.
And then last but certainly not least, permanently unemployed Cole Classic Cage. How you doing today, Cassie?
Damn, bro. Well, I'm doing good. Because I'm permanently unemployed, that means I get to play all the video games I want. So there we go. Yeah, that's what's up. And I'm currently watching Microsoft kill itself, and it's amazing.
Are they not dead yet? Like, didn't they kill them? It feels like they've been dying slowly for like 10 years now. It's like, why are they not gone yet?
Because I think that their goal is to take the entire video game industry with them. So they intend to just buy everything and then die. That's pretty much what the game plan is. They've wanted to buy apparently not only just Nintendo, but the entirety of Valve, aka the owners of Steam as well. Like that was what they had on their game plan back in the day.
It feels like they're in the Disney position of we're just gonna buy up all of our competition and be the biggest game in town, and then realize 5 years later we don't have the money to pay for all of this crap that we bought. So I don't know exactly where that's gonna go, but yeah, Microsoft seems like they've been dying for quite some time. But, I don't know if Sega wasn't completely retarded at this point. I root for Sega to make a comeback because it seems like the market is ripe for somebody to rise from the dead. And
Sega doesn't have the balls, bro. They don't have the balls. They don't even do right by their own franchises. Imagine them being a major player in hardware manufacturing fight like it. No, it would die instantaneously. They're too pussy for it.
The Dreamcast was just the worst thing that ever happened to that company, and I'm gonna stand by that because it's been all downhill ever since. But
so I chose the Dreamcast over the PS2 circa 2001.
Yeah.
And then I ended up getting a PS2 like 2 years later. So it was sad.
Yeah, I think we all wanted to believe in Sega at that point, and little did we know that it was pretty much over. Like, enjoyed the Dreamcast the Genesis while you could, because that was pretty much the last time that Sega would ever be on top. It was like it's like watching Macho Man Randy Savage go out in like 2000, when it's like, okay, it's definitely over. It's never been more over than it is right now at this very moment. But also joining us here tonight, we have some new mods joining us in the chat. I given some select people new mod powers here. One of those people is our good buddy Neozoic, who's joining us here tonight. He says, ultimate fun question with the next comment. He says, which of the 6 former major studios has the best library pre-2010s? Or... Yeah, I mean, so you have Universal, Paramount, Warner Brothers, Walt Disney, Sony, and 20th Century Fox. That's kind of a question that's too big to answer. I mean, you can dedicate an entire show to breaking this whole thing down. So, Rob, I don't know if you have an answer in of that.
Yeah, no, I do. Now, I'm absolutely biased, but I will go Warner Brothers. I mean, from like Humphrey Bogart to... like just Jack Warner running that studio, like Warner Brothers would be my absolute pick. I mean, right there, those are more modern choices and stuff, but The Exorcist, etc. Yeah, I mean, go on and on and on and on. But I think Warner Brothers is great, but certainly, you could take your pick because they all have a great roster, especially like the best of the best.
When I was in the West Coast a few years ago, Warner Brothers would be the studio lot that I would frequent the most. So I've seen them film so many TV shows there and movies on set, and watch them kind of do their magic behind the scenes. And just because based on that, like Warner Brothers has always had like a special place with me. And then like I said, there's a lot of great stuff in their library, so I would probably lean towards that as well. The only other studio that I've ever visited outside of Warner Brothers was Paramount, and Paramount has a lot of like this history, especially like their older movies and their older catalog. So if you're more into that classical era of Hollywood, I think that one might lean towards you. It really just depends on what era of movies you favor, because there's people out there that love black and white. There's people who love 80s movies, 90s movies. So like I said, it's a very, you can spend all day dissecting this question. It really just depends on what era of cinema you really go for there. So
yeah, to me it's like a toss up between like I just think of what I watch the most, what logo I see the most, and it tends to be WB or MGM. I could go either or.
You have any preferred there, Cider?
No, I just try to find the movie that sucks the most.
So you should be a good fan of Disney then. The Walt Disney.
Yeah, Disney, Columbia, they usually pick the real hardware.
then again, I mean, Sony has had good stuff, but they're also the ones that have been funding, like, Seth Rogen and Adam Sandler. So, I mean, that's really hurt, like, the large portion of their entire catalog, too. So, I mean, they may have some hits, but they have a lot of misses on top of those as well.
Is
so.
TriStar gone?
I think they were blended into Sony, if I'm not mistaken. So it might still be around, but I think they're just a subset of Sony at the moment.
Yeah. Almost all those production companies, even if they were part of, other studios, have all been subsumed and you don't see them anymore. It's kind of sad. And even if Hollywood, what is it? Hollywood Pictures was a Disney company and Miramax was a Disney company and New Line belonged to Warner Brothers. It was still cool to see. It was cool to pretend that there was diversity in the studio system. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, back when we could pretend like there was actual control there for a while.
The automaker.
Yeah.
It was back then. I mean, the country was a lot better when they at least gave us the illusion that everything wasn't fixed. I mean, we like the illusion, right?
Yeah.
Vanya's also joining us here in the chat tonight. Doba Fett is here with us. We got Cassie Orange Hat in the chat as well. Rob's going to be joining you guys in the chat throughout the course of the night. Drax the Clown saying, what's up? Doba Fett saying, Palpatine execute episode 66. Yeah, there you go. What else we have here? Soon, episode 69, the most sexual of all the numbers. I feel like we should be doing something, let's just say suspect for that episode, but I haven't figured out what we're gonna do for that one yet. But we'll figure it out. I mean, I know our good buddy at Culture Casino did a shirtless show when he hit 10,000 subs. So I mean, I don't know. Maybe we can get some people to get to that one.
We could invite Lauren Boebert on.
Boobert.
Yeah, Boobert. Yeah, we'll talk about titty sprinkles later on in the show, but we'll get in that sound later on too. Tactus Jones joining us. A tough choice, probably Warner for him. So I would agree. 20th Century Fox does have a lot of solid stuff. I tend to lean towards the mid tier movies more than like the big blockbusters. Like let's be honest, like the majority of the big blockbusters Hollywood produce now is just trash. Like there's nothing really exciting. So I kind of like movies that at least have the illusion that they're still trying to be movies at this point.
You like your illusions, don't you, Jake?
Yeah, and like I said, everything was great when you at least pretended like this thing wasn't fixed. It's like when you were watching pro wrestling before you figured out it was fake. It's like you can't take away that level of excitement that you had for the Hulk Hogan days, Kate's joining us here tonight. Neozoic, didn't do a bonus question. JEC joining us here. It says that we can pretend to fake love letters from our exes. Yeah, that's a little inside joke from John De La Rosa's stream, if you guys haven't figured that one out yet. And all I can say is that some people are in severe need of both help, Jesus, and professional psychiatry. Let's just put it that way. So we're here. Obviously, there's going to be some people joining us throughout the course of the night because, as you know, Rick and TW are never here on time. So we're just going to go ahead and start this one off hot. Let's talk about The Rock, baby, because did you watch SmackDown last week? The Rock is back. The People's Champion, the Brahma Bull, came out looking like, a 51-year-old Guido in New Jersey who's still trying to bang 20-year-olds. But he came out, he got a big pop up from the crowd. And all of this is a great distraction away from the fact that he's taken a big hit in the public image arena over the last few weeks. So let's go ahead and kind of foretell how this whole thing started. If you go back a few weeks here, I'll go ahead and bring up the screen here just for a second. Remember The Rock and Oprah teamed up because they wanted to do something for the victims of Maui, and they were begging for people to pledge $10 million so that they can give back to the victims of the Hawaii wildfire. And people were like, wait a second, Oprah's like a billionaire. The Rock is very, very close to being a billionaire. Why are you asking the people for $10 million when you can easily do this like yourself? And a lot of people's like, what the hell is going on here? And they took a lot of heat for this. Like even both Oprah and The Rock have had to come out in the last few weeks to kind of let's just say ease a lot of the complaints that they got regarding this. But yeah, like I said, this is back when Hawaii was in distress, still in distress for a lot of instances. People lost their lives, lost their homes. There's a lot of shady things going on about property acquisitions and home acquisitions at the moment. But they both went out there, did a video to announce the People's Maui Fund, which was intended to raise money to impact those affected by the wildfires. He said that we were honored to start a campaign with $10 million asking for your help and donations to people who have lost their homes. The post stated, They said Oprah Winfrey is a net worth of $2.5 billion. And even if she gave $5 million, that would represent less than 1% of her total wealth here. The Rock, I believe, at this point is about $800 million, especially after the tequila deal, the XFL, and a few other assets that he's built up. So he's very nearly a billionaire himself. And these are nearly billionaires asking you to give money to help out the Hawaii people. And then I think somebody came to find out that a lot of that money wasn't even actually going to the people anyway. So it just sounded like a big money scam. But there was fierce backlash on social media. Like, people rejected this almost immediately. Oprah had to come out and say that she was shocked by the backlash that they received due to this stunt. The Rock has come out knowing that he took heat for this. He figured, well, the only way for me to not take heat for this whole thing is to go back to WWE and get a pop from the crowd and make everyone forget about everything that happened in Maui over the last few weeks. So he went down to Colorado in Denver for a couple of reasons, but this was the big story here from the WWE side of things. This is his reaction from his crowd. Keep in mind, that's Pat McAfee in the ring with Austin Theory. They were both there when this whole thing went down, so this is The Rock's big return.
It will never be your show. This is the people's show. And you know what that means?
Well, that looks kind of satanic, now doesn't it?
Oh, the Brahma Bull, yeah. It started once you understand about Baal worship, the Brahma Bull starts to look very suspect.
Kind of like that evil horse from
Yeah,
that
right.
airport.
Keep in mind, he got a Brahma Bull tattoo like years ago, and then I think he recently had it covered up to like a more demonic looking Brahma Bull tattoo, which makes you wonder why he covered up the first one in the first place there. But The Rock's been making the rounds on multiple shows. It wasn't just WWE, but just a little context here for the WWE portion. The Rock has not been in WWE, I think, about 4 years. The last time he was there, the last time he was on WWE was the first night that WWE went to SmackDown on Fox. He showed up for the first episode of that and hasn't been back since. That was 2019. There's been talks over the last couple of years about him coming back to do a match with Roman Reigns. Apparently, it was supposed to happen at this year's WrestleMania, but for whatever reason, it just never happened. He couldn't find the time to get in ring shape and do the promos and do the setup, so they just went in another direction. So people have been wondering when he's going to be coming back, and he's decided for years that Hollywood's too important. All of a sudden, he takes a little heat from his Hollywood gig, and now all of a sudden he's back in the ring, baby, cutting the promos, doing the people's elbow. But like I said, it wasn't just that show that he arrived to. He was in the Colorado area because, if you know, Colorado and Colorado State had a big game. Everyone's all on Deion Sanders right now in the college world. So he decided that he was going to show up to that game and make his presence known on ESPN College Game Day. So here's a short video of him there. Keep in mind, he did not play for the University of Colorado. He played at the University of Miami, but he also, after the game this Saturday, did a short little speech with the players there with Deion Sanders. There's a little bit of him there in Colorado.
The entire industry changing the face of college football. And not only Coach Prime and the coaching staff, but it's what you guys are doing too. I believe deeply in this idea, and I know Coach does too as well, and that is we can control with our own two hands, and putting in that effort with our own two hands. So tonight, go out there, do what you do, make it personal, and kick that ass.
And for the record there, I mean, look, I know The Rock is 51 years old now, so I mean, he was like one of the younger guys in the roster during the Attitude Era, but even he's starting to show his age now. Like, there's not enough HGH and TRT and whatever he's taking in the world that's gonna show that age in his face there. But everyone, like I said, he's been all over the place trying to show his face out there, and people have rightly called out the fact that, look, he's just trying to get people to forget about the whole thing with Maui. Like, he took a lot of heat from that publicly, and we all know that The Rock is a guy who is very, very concerned with his public image. He wants to be the most likable guy in Hollywood. He wants to be the biggest name in Hollywood, and he would do whatever it takes to, I guess, get as many people on his side as possible. Now, when he was in Hollywood and he was a big star, he decided that he was going to back Joe Biden and Kamala Harris because he thought that was going to put him in good graces with the people in Hollywood, and that backfired majorly. He supported Black Lives Matter. He's really, let's just be very, very honest here. It shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. He's turned into a straight up Hollywood sellout, and I don't think it should be a shock to anyone for the most part. But yeah, he's been trying to misdirect people and try to get people to not think about what happened a few weeks ago in that whole failed campaign. So yeah, The Rock is back now, or maybe he's not back because he only appeared once on a random episode in SmackDown in Colorado with no hype, no reason. Wasn't even announced that he was going to be there, and now he's probably going to be gone for the rest of the year. And the only thing that we have left now is that the wrestling fans are like, oh, now he has to face Roman Reigns at next year's WrestleMania. That's WrestleMania 40, because Roman Reigns is in the middle of this 3.5-year title run, and it's like, yeah, he has to defend against The Rock, which means that he's going to have to win again at this year's WrestleMania, which I think will be like the 5th year in a row or some crazy stuff like that. So this has obviously been a big story in the world of entertainment and sports and in with pro wrestling. So Cassie, I'll start this off with you, the residential jaded pro wrestling fan here. What is your thoughts on The Rock finally making his comeback to the WWE after several years, and what do you think about the whole context about why he came back in the first place?
It's clearly forced. I don't think he ever wanted to actually, go all out in terms of wrestling ever again. I think he had every intention to, at most, just show his face, say hi, and keep it moving. So the fact that he's actually doing a bit of wrestling, yeah, it's honestly because his image is definitely depreciated. And it's not even just this whole Maui thing, even though that's like the real situation that really blew up in his face. But it's been for a lot of things. I mean, look at the whole thing with DC, Warner Brothers. Like, there's a lot of weird stuff going on there that didn't exactly make him look good. Then, the other situations in which you were talking about, in which he decided to take political stances, and that was pretty. It definitely caught a lot of people off guard, because prior to this most recent, few years, he didn't really take political stances. I don't recall him ever putting his foot in the ring when it comes to anything politics until past 4 or so years. So the fact that he was willing to go there, it's naturally going to make your fan base look at you like, what the heck? I mean, some people are believe in his views, and then other people obviously are gonna be like, well, no, go fuck yourself. We're tired of hearing people constantly talk about this. And so it's just weird that he has changed relatively recently, or perhaps he's shown his colors. But I think that with the current way of the world, particularly in American politics, a lot of people have shown their true face, that was hidden behind a mask for so long. And I think that a lot of the powers that be recognize that we can't go back to the way that it was. We can't unsee all the shit that we've seen. And I think that a lot of people in power, they know that, and they're scared because too many people recognize what the world is as of right now. And then there's those people that will cheer when The Rock shows his face and all that shit. Despite the whole Maui situation. And that's what we're seeing too. And you have those people that are always be, the idiots, I guess, of society, and it is what it is on that front. But I mean, Rock is just The Rock at this point. I don't really hold any stock in the dude. He's gonna go get what he wants at the end of the day. And that's all these people seem to give a shit about, clearly, because they're willing to literally just use an enormous strategy for their financial advantage. So with that, he can go fuck himself.
I do want to point this out. JAC mentioned the last time The Rock wrestled a proper match was WrestleMania 29 in 2013. So we are talking 10 years ago here, when he was like 41, and he wrestled a match against John Cena. I think he tore his quad in that match, and he hasn't wrestled a proper match in WWE since. And part of the reason why is because when he got injured during that match, he delayed that film he did, Hercules, 10 years ago, which was awful, by the way. But because of that, Hollywood has had like written in contracts that he can't do pro wrestling and do movies because he does so many movies. If he gets hurt doing a wrestling match for WWE, then it's going to delay his filming months. So there's been the whole thing about that too. This is why John Cena, even though he comes back occasionally, he can't really do like the John Cena matches that we saw like 5 years ago because he has to go back to the film set, so he can't afford to get hurt. So he'll just give you like a half-ass like house show style match instead of giving the fans what they want. But I mean, that's pretty much what you're going to get out of those guys now. That's where you're at. Rob,
Not that John Cena is any good at acting.
Yeah, they're talking about another Hollywood sellout, but that's another story for another day. But
yeah,
he's a Chinese sellout.
Yeah, Hollywood.
Yeah, well, look, The Rock is he's trying to distract from the whole Maui thing. If you don't like what people are saying, change the conversation. Which is from Mad Men. Which advertising knows that to a T. Public relations knows that to a T. If you want people to stop talking about or paying attention to this thing, well, hey, let over here, look over here. Oh, hey, I'm gonna wrestle. But with you guys saying that it's been 10 years since he wrestled in an actual match, I just have my doubts that he's legitimately going to be coming back. I mean, I don't watch wrestling anymore, but I remember
no one does.
He was genuinely one of the most exciting wrestlers in WWF's history. I mean, and that's a considerable roster of talent. So he still has not crafted a character in Hollywood that's as memorable or as good as The Rock, the People's Champ. So he was great as a heel. He was great when he kind of turned into not a baby face, but a good guy basically. Against Vince McMahon. So I mean, it's a shame that he keeps trying to make it work in Hollywood, and I guess some of the movies he's been in have made money, but it's never really stuck. I mean, I don't think people have really ever bought The Rock as an action star or a movie star. And now he's kind of, I don't know if he's cozying up to Disney because he just seems to be around Pat McAfee a lot. So I don't know. It's so I mean, I think it's more sad than anything, but he's definitely trying to distract from that whole Maui thing, which I mean, I made a harmless comment about Oprah, how anything that's she's connected to, you should genuinely question or at least look at with a discerning eye. And this was a wild accusation apparently, but whatever. I mean, the woman is a billionaire, so anybody that is involved in charitable endeavors, the forefront of like tragedies and stuff like that, it's always like what's where's that money going, what's behind this kind of thing. So and that's sad. It's sad that something like charity is manipulated, or that it's diverted and not going to people that need it, which is why charities I'm very suspicious. So
Naturally.
do your research before you send money. That's all I can say.
Yep.
And I don't trust any charity that the people asking you to give their money to won't even give a full amount or even like a small handful of their account to. That must tells you that something else is going on there that we probably shouldn't trust. But Cider, what's your thoughts on this?
It's just more evidence of how these Hollywood yuck-em-ups are in a bubble. He goes out there, he does this, pays no mind that people are now forking over $7 a gallon in the great state of California. He's not paying any mind to how people are suffering out in there in the Bidenomics era, right?
Yeah, that he backed.
Right, that he was full force for. Remember when he was going to run for president?
Oh yeah, remember that Young Rock predictive programming stuff?
Yep. And so it further demonstrates just how insulated from reality these people are. He goes out there to protect his image rather than issuing an apology and spending time in Maui, taking time away from whatever he's making money on to be there to participate in the reconstruction effort. Or at the very least, like Trump did, do some quarterback throws of paper towels to people who need help, who need supplies. No, he's got to go out to WWE and immediately erase people's minds of Maui. Not try to get them more help. Not go out there, do the Rock thing and be like, but for real, what I'm really here to tell you about, what The Rock is really cooking is help for Maui. That's right. The QR code's right up here on the arena thing. Just scan that right now, unless you're a sucker.
By the way,
You know?
it is funny how he used all these appearances on WWE and ESPN and all these other outlets. He didn't try to raise any money for this cause that he was going all in on a couple of weeks ago. It's like that would have been a perfect opportunity, right?
Almost seems like he doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, it's just weird. It's just weird.
I mean, to be fair, I'm pretty sure WWE said you can't promote any of that shit here, bro.
Exactly. Like WWE, if you guys, the ones who are still watching WWE, they just did their lowest rating ever for Raw this week. Only like 1.3 million people watching it. This is a show that's been on for 30 years, by the way. They just did their lowest rating ever. And they tried to spin it. And it was like, oh, well, they had to deal with some heavyweight matchups in football. It's like, it was the Browns and the Steelers and the Saints and the Panthers. Let's not just act like that those are like the top tier NFL matchups that took away from pro wrestling on a Monday night. It's like all of those teams stink. Like, just stop it. But go ahead, Orange. What do you think about this whole thing?
Honestly, anything that Oprah does is, I agree with Rob, completely suspect, because that woman has some very, very shady things. But when you are millionaires, and in Oprah's case, billionaires, and asking people who have basically lived through a recession and pretty much still having a hard time just paying natural utilities and such, and you're asking them to send money when the government continues to send our money over to a different country and says, well, the Hawaiians get to have $700. It's like, there was this Hawaiian woman who basically said it very bluntly, take your $700 and get the fuck out of here, Joe. But them saying that this whole charity thing is supposedly going straight to the pockets of the people in Maui, yeah, why didn't they give their own money? It's like, you guys have millions, and in Oprah's case, billions of dollars. I'm pretty sure that if Oprah gave $100 million to Maui, plus Dwayne giving, I don't know, $50 million, and then having all those other fucking celebrities give a little bit too, or like about $1 million each, I'm pretty sure the people of Maui would have a lot more relief than what our government did. But the fact that they're asking people who are suffering themselves to give a little, it's very disingenuous. And honestly, they should be ashamed of themselves. And it's like, oh, okay, I'll do this instead, take my mind. It's like, you honestly think that people's memories are that short? Do you really think that people aren't going to remember that you just asked all of them who could barely, well, people that are going to these wrestling events could probably afford a little bit, but still, because those tickets aren't cheap.
Put it to you this way. Some guy put it perfectly here. It's like, you think the people in Maui give a shit that The Rock went on TV and gave Austin Theory the people's elbow after everything that's happened the last few weeks? Come on.
It's like, you guys or you think that our memories are like wiped every 5 minutes. I'm sorry, but I seem to remember that this dude endorsed Kamala Harris during her presidential run, and I'm thinking to myself, dude, not your best moment. You literally picked somebody who got her start on her knees in politics.
Well, I mean, there's rumors out there The Rock may have also did the same thing, allegedly.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if it was true. But yeah, I'm thinking to myself, these people want the American people who are currently suffering themselves because, well, not really smart spending, and they want us to give our hard-earned money to the people of Maui when we can barely afford our own shit.
Yeah. Before I bring Rick in for his irrelevant opinion, Rob, I want to go to you real quick. You remember a couple of years ago when some black guy did a parody of The Rock's rap song, and then this is covered on ROTC, how Rock got so butthurt about it that he literally copyrighted the video and pulled it and smeared it off the internet because they didn't want anything to affect like his public image. Like this is the type of lengths that he will go to protect whatever, like I said, politician image he thinks that he has with the people at this point. Where, look, I remember back in like 2015, 2016, before, you know, Rock really blew up as like this big star, he was the guy who was going out to, you know, the what was it, the USSO tours and always preaching about hard work, because it's like, oh, well, you know, when I was getting started in wrestling, I only had $7 in my pocket and I had to pull myself up from the bootstraps and work my way up, and I always preached hard work. And then of course a few years after the fact, especially once Trump got in, he was like, okay, he saw the entire industry going one way, even the rest of the country was going another way, but because he wanted to protect himself from being, you know, the highest paid man in Hollywood, he had to essentially protect his image of like, oh yeah, no, I love Biden and I love Elizabeth Warren, and yeah, I cried when Biden won and stuff like that. And it's like, you just completely sold out. Like, just call it like what it is. You want to be the highest paid guy in Hollywood, which means you have to play by their rules. Like, that's really what it comes down to. But don't try to like convince us that there's actually something else going on here, like you have any kind of integrity on this whole situation.
Yeah, I mean, I don't specifically remember that, but I mean, I remember back in like, I want to say it was 2007, 2008, he was like on Opie and Anthony, and he was like chastising, I think it was Sam, you know, like Sam and Jim have that show now, about, you know, some message board being, some wrestling message board being racist. And it's like, he, you know, that, you know, oh, you allowed.
Oh yeah, I remember
comment
that
on your message board. So I mean, like, he's always been a fake asshole in that way, where it's like he's trying to protect his public image and be all things to all people. So I'm sure he would make a good politician in the sense that he's full of shit. And you know, he's constantly just talking out both sides of his mouth. So none of that really surprises me. At the end of the day, it's just, you know, that's show business. You know, somebody was saying, you know, we'll get to Lauren Boebert in a little bit, like that she should be in the entertainment business. And it's like, it's the same business. Politician, that's entertainment. I know people like think of it as what, public service or whatever it is. It at the national level, it's an entertainment industry. That's all it is. And the facade, like professional wrestling, is that there are good guys and there are bad guys.
Well, that's always been the story, isn't it? You know, politics is a show business for ugly people.
You ain't lying. I mean, it's not like they're there because they're the most intelligent cream of the crop. No, they're there because they've probably all been on their fucking knees at some point or another.
Hey, it's a saying. Those who can't do, teach. Those who can't teach gym class. And those who can't teach gym class become politicians.
Yeah. And dress like gym teachers, too, as I understand
Betterman.
it.
Yeah.
A fun little story here, just real quick. The Rock's daughter blocked me years ago because she's in WWE right now in NXT, and she's like a massive like social justice warrior. I know, shocker.
Look,
but,
no, she blocked you because she was jealous of your fucking forehead. I mean, that bitch has quite a forehead in her own right too.
she looks like Olmec from Legends of the Hidden Temple. Let's just put it that way.
Oh, I love Legends of the Hidden Temple.
That was such an awesome show when I was growing up. Oh my god!
Yeah.
I wanted a Yamaha keyboard.
Just real quick, they did like I think CW did like a reboot of Legends of the Hidden Temple where they brought like guys who were like in their 30s and 40s to do like a little abridged version of the temple. It's like the saddest thing like in the world. It's like, I get it. Like I'm 34, I'm turning 35 here too. It's like I envisioned myself being on that show when I was a kid, but that was in the context of when I was a kid. I don't want to be like me at 35 trying to do Legends of the Hidden Temple, trying to do the same.
They also did a movie, I think. A TV movie.
Yeah, it was like a one for like Nickelodeon or something like that.
I mean, you know, I like watching reruns of it on Pluto. I mean, it's the most easy like background thing to throw on when you're trying to fall asleep. But like, you know, it's entertaining because we came from that generational period, and we were like that 10, you know, that 8, 9, 10-year-old that would love to run through that little maze and try to get. Watching adults do that though, That's
well,
not even just adults, like balding adults, like adults in like khaki shorts.
I don't know if that's such a good idea for adults. What if they get a heart attack when one of the temple guards jumps out at them? They could like literally keel over right there, and we'd have to dig them out of all those balls that are.
You know what? That's less embarrassing than the act of actually agreeing to do that bullshit.
Yeah.
Some people can't let go. Real quick, first, it's always easy to use other people's money rather than your own if you have billions of dollars. That was one of the best lines. The problem with socialism is that eventually you run out of other people's money. So they could provide themselves out of their own pocket, but they just figured, oh, we'll start this charity. No, just you're perfectly capable of giving some of that money yourself. As for The Rock returning, I don't know if anyone was really that desperate to have him back. Or were there this massive call that, oh, we need The Rock back in WWE or whatever it is now, so we could watch again?
I mean, that's the thing, though. Like we said, he's 51 years old now, and he hasn't actually wrestled in a real match in 10 years. So it's like, what Rock do you think you're going to get at this point? This 51-year-old man that you think is going to go up against Roman Reigns, who's been champion for almost 4 years now at this point.
Yeah, and I've never believed that he was this big movie star. I mean, yeah, he was fine in the first few minutes of The Mummy Returns, where he was the Scorpion King, but...
You mean the CGI robot?
No, at the beginning, it was him.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, I forgot about that.
At the end, it was CGI, and ever since then,
do you know what's
and it didn't work?
Just real quick, you know what's really messed up about that is, remember when they were promoting, especially on the WWE, that he was going to be in the Mummy, like going to be the Scorpion King character. They didn't tell you that his whole run in that movie was going to be like a cameo at the end. So there was a lot of people who went to go see that movie thinking The Rock was going to be in it. He shows up for like one quick scene like at the very beginning, and like all the way to like the very end of the movie, you finally see The Rock, and it's just like this CGI abomination. It came out, this is like early 2000 CGI, so it was not good at all.
Yes,
Then
it was bad.
Yeah,
and look, they tried to spin him off into his own mythos, and I think he was in one movie, and all I remember is just the sorceress that was accompanying him. That's my only memory of it. And then by the time they got to the third one, it was a completely other person who was the Scorpion King. So yeah, and then he did that. What is it? Race to Witch Mountain, which is a remake of one of my early childhood favorite films. Was it Escape?
He also did the Tooth Fairy.
Oh, I confused that with the pacifier from Vin Diesel. So like they all start blending together in one.
Yeah, you can't tell me the Tooth Fairy wasn't a humiliation ritual. Like you can't convince me otherwise at this point.
Well, where was Gridiron Gang and all of that? I never saw it, but Coach Carter,
that was like movie. It was like either right before or right after Tooth Fairy. It was like that weird period. So yeah. But any final thoughts on this one before we jump over to our next topic?
He's an asshole.
Fair enough. I think that's a unanimous agreement there.
Shit.
I have no opinion.
All right, then let's go on and jump over to our next topic. U.S. Representative Titty Sprinkles over here had a very, very rough week, and this story has just been a complete and utter just a crap show from start to finish. And I'm gonna go to you how this whole thing started off. So Lauren Boebert, who's basically, if we're being honest with ourselves, she's essentially just the right wing AOC. I mean, I think we can all agree that that's pretty much her entire role at this point. She's not very bright, but I mean, she's just a puppet for right wing talking points at this point. She's got in trouble.
Soccer mom, she's like a soccer mom.
Oh, she's a little bit more than that at this point.
Okay.
But, so this whole thing started because there was a story that went out like late last week that she had got kicked out of like a screening, that's a screening, but some kind of like play of Beetlejuice in Colorado. And the complaints was that she was causing a scene, she was vaping and stuff like that. And she initially... musical, thank you. She eventually came out and said that, no, that's not true, that, I wasn't doing all that stuff that I was being accused of. And then literally like 12 hours later, the video evidence of this just spread all over the internet. So Surveillance video shows that she did, in fact, was vaping during the show. She was there with her boyfriend. Now, keep in mind here, she's currently in the middle of a divorce, which means that she's not officially divorced, which means that she's still technically married. She announced a couple of months ago that she was filing divorce from her husband. They have 4 kids. Keep in mind, this is a woman who ran on, family values, Christian values. Look at this, me. I'm doing this political ad with my husband and my kids. This is the all-American family, and now she's divorcing her family, and now she's just off with her boy toy, just like that, right? And this story gets worse, but the video this here shows that she was being disruptive during the whole thing. Then we had a little sub video here, just real quick, that shows that this is where they were seating. This is them right here being escorted out of the building. There's more video here showing them being escorted out. She was apparently yelling at security. I think there was a video there. She may or may not have given them the finger at one point, but it was a pretty embarrassing exit here with these two.
Yeah, right there.
Yep. And you can see she's telling off the guy there, so it wasn't a good night for them. But at the time, it was like, hey, they said that we were vaping. I wasn't vaping, and then the video evidence showed otherwise, and I was kind of like, okay, well, you got caught in a lie there. Then the story got significantly worse because apparently that wasn't the only video of this incident that people found. People slowly found this video. Like I said, her boyfriend, who I guess her date, keep in mind because she's going to clarify here, though they're not actually boyfriend here, but her date that she was on, they decided to get very, very frisky in the theater as the musical was going on. Like you see in this video, this is her man aggressively. Somebody said this on Saturday night on another show. It's like, it feels like he's trying to wash a car when he's grabbing her breast here. It's like, I don't like the technique that he's applying here, but but as you can see, he's having a lot of fun with her new boobs there, and she's reciprocating there by grabbing his crotch during the whole thing too. So they were getting very intimate with each other in this theater, and there's the video evidence to prove it. And the whole time, people were watching this. I just think back to this one clip.
Nigga, did you know that I can see you?
So when this video went viral on social media, everyone just started blowing up this whole story. Like I said, the memes were just absolutely hilarious. People were calling her Boebert. People were calling her a whole bunch of unflattering things throughout this whole thing. Like I said, keep in mind, this is a woman who is still technically married to her husband and has 4 kids. And now this video is going to be on the internet for all eternity. And
it's going to be her campaign ad.
Yeah, so it's not a good look, as the kids say here. And then it took another weird turn. So people started digging into who this guy actually was. Apparently, he's a Democrat in Colorado who owns an LGBTQ bar that holds drag shows. So people found... So people just started roasting the crap out of her. I mean, it got really bad. So then, of course, she goes on TMZ. She was at the airport. I guess she was back from her romp there, saying that the theater guy isn't getting a second date, applying that's what she does on first dates. Was going straight to second base, and we can only assume that it didn't end at second base that night, because it seems like that they might have gone all the way home on the very first date here. But she tries to defend herself here, saying that that apparently she didn't do enough research on the guy who she was molesting on the during the middle of the theater here. She tries to say that he won't get another date, that she'll have to do more work. So apparently she doesn't understand that people are really looking at her, which is all kinds of shame. Now she claims she didn't know that he was a Democrat who runs a gay bar before she went out with him, which only looks worse on her in this whole thing. So she's not looking very good. But then the coup de grace of this whole situation is that somehow, after all this went down, after she's been getting roasted for days on social media, her husband was actually the one that came out to apologize for the whole situation, saying that he takes responsibility for her her actions. I guess his name is Jason. He finally came out and I guess gave some clarifications on why they were getting divorced here in the first place. He implied that he was the one that was possibly unfaithful in the first place, and that kind of led to this whole downward spiral here. So he's trying to, I guess, take the heat off of her, take one for the team essentially by saying that her actions is actually his fault. Like I said, it's a whole mess of a situation and that's going on here, but this story, just every day there's like a new twist to the story that just makes her look so much worse. And look, there's so many people there that are on two sides of this aisle. A lot of people are just defending her because she's a Republican, so we have to defend her because she votes the right way and stuff like that. And I kind of look at it from the perspective of this: you're sitting out here selling people on this idea that you're the all-American Christian right-wing woman and whatnot, and then you're a couple of years into your political career. Now you're getting a divorce. You're splitting up your household. She has 4 kids. I think she's a grandmother now because one of her oldest kids has a kid of his own. And that's a whole situation in and of itself. And now there's video evidence of you, like I said, fornicating in the theater, in a public theater, by the way. Some people tried to say like, oh, well, they're consenting adults. Like, who cares what consenting adults do? It's like, you can't have sex in a theater. It doesn't matter if you're consenting adults. There's rules and regulations against shit like this.
Well, it depends on what theater it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that sounds discriminatory to me, but okay.
Yeah, so you can't sit there and be like you're the all-American Christian woman when you're basically like one step away from playing Swallow the Leader with your Democrat boyfriend who owns a gay bar and who runs drag queens. It's like you seem like the ultimate hypocrite, the ultimate heretic in this entire situation, and there has been a sufficient enough apology or I guess rebuking of anything that you've done here. So I just think she looks like a total fool. I think she's like a total idiot. Like I said, she's basically the right-wing AOC here at this point. So Rick, I'm going to start this one off with you since you just got here. What is your thoughts on the whole debacle with Laura Boebert and her escapades?
I think sexcapades. Let's call them sexcapades.
Yeah.
I think that she got confused by the show. I think she might have thought it was Beat His Juice, so instead of Beetlejuice.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that we need to understand that she's not well versed in theater. He might be because he hangs around a lot of gay people. And sorry for the stereotype, but I'm having a little fun with this. She is emblematic to me of all of these really lousy politicians that we have. We have her. We have George Santos over there, who is apparently one time did drag and lied about his record. We have the esteemed junior senator from Pennsylvania that represents Cassie and Rob, who now is going to wear hoodies and shorts on the Senate floor, while his staff still has to wear suits and dresses.
And Don's ridiculous mustache.
Yes, and then we have like 2 90-year-olds who are barely functioning. We have a minority leader who freezes up whenever he speaks. We have a president who has no idea, who apparently shakes hands with ghosts. We do not send our best people, and it is people. I don't know who would defend this woman whom I've never really heard of, this Bobo Bob whatever.
Boebert, yeah, it took me like a day to figure out how to pronounce her name.
But she's Colorado, so I wonder if what district is she actually in?
So if you remember back in the midterms, she barely won. She won by like 1,000
20 votes or something like that. I think it might be less than that.
Maybe it was that small, yeah, but it was.
Because remember, they initially announced that she lost, and people were like ragging on her, and then they tallied up all the votes, and then she like barely squeaked out a victory, so they had to like go back on that whole thing. But yeah, she's barely popular enough to be elected. So yeah,
that election was stolen. Let's make that one another stolen election. But look, the thing is, she might have a chance to be reelected, and people keep reelecting these really lousy people. She
put it to you this way: she barely won a few months ago before all this went down. It's like if she goes through another election, I think she's going to lose pretty handily this time around, because there's a lot of people on her own side that don't even trust her now after this.
I don't know. I mean, people are absolutely insane. You know what? She should just put this as an ad and just say, you know what? I'm a candidate who always keeps abreast of the situation, no matter what it is. I always, I will always be able to handle anything that comes my way. We're going to, I don't know this. What are we doing, people? Pick better candidates. Trust me, if I run, I will not go to the El Paso Playhouse and try to do anything like this. Normally, because nobody was willing to go out with me, but that's not the point. Just
well, let me ask you this question: do you think that this video will be included in her re-election campaign? Do you think that this will help her get votes?
In the opponents, it'll probably be in the opponents. This is the first time I've seen the video. I have purposely not seen the video. But lady, get a room. You could afford it. And really, on the first date, this is what goes on the first date. On the first date, I'm lucky if I even managed to shake, hands. I'd like to meet. You know what? Bobo, Baba Yaga, whatever your name is.
Boobs.
If you want to come down to El Paso on a whistle stop tour, we'll go down. We'll go down to the theater.
We'll go down, all right.
Yeah, we'll go down. Well, you might, but I'm.
That's the other. That's the other side of this story too. It's like all the L's that you've taken here with this story, and now there's also a guy who runs a gay bar in Colorado, a Democrat, who's now going to brag to all his friends that he smashed Lauren Boebert in the first date, and they all got caught on camera. It's like just I don't know how.
I'll take you, Bobo, down to the gay bar. I know where it is. It's not that far from the main library. If you want to hang out there, and you're not going to get hit on by anyone there. So
allegedly,
all I can say is that people need to stop defending sleazy, tawdry behavior, no matter from which side of the aisle it's on. And you need to stop just like you need to stop defending her. You need to stop defending this candidate in Virginia who's making porn videos with her husband. And there were the headlines.
Put it to you this way. Women should not be in politics.
Oh, I don't know about that.
I think we have enough evidence at this point that
as someone who still has a portrait of Maggie,
we've
Maggie
lived
Thatcher,
through Clinton, bro. How can you sit here and act like the men are any better, bro?
I'm just saying that some people are significantly worse.
We never saw a sex scandal within
a lot of people forget what Kennedy was about.
Yeah, pretty much. You have to understand what the core issue here is in regards to this scenario. It is the core fundamental problem of middle-aged white women. They are the fucking problem every fucking time. And this cunt proves it very blatantly. This bitch, let me tell you exactly what position this bitch thought she was in. It's like, oh, I'm getting divorced from my husband. Oh man, the whole what is it? Single and ready to mingle cringe bullshit. That's the stupid cringe bullshit this stupid bitch was on. And she thought, yeah, I can go do what I want to do. I'm probably gonna be a little extra just to, get back at my ex or whatever. And trust me, she was putting it all out there. You know why? Because she's trying to land another man because she is close to hitting 40. So she's on a very limited time schedule. So she got to put it out there to get what she need to get. Then clearly she was willing to do that. To hell with all the, the quote unquote values that she claimed to have had, that she ran on. I mean, all these people are fake. They are actors and actresses. They're just even shittier somehow. And it goes to show just them, they always tell on themselves. You give and to give this bitch power after you just seen her get off her little leash to go do what she needed to do is a mistake. So good luck with y'all on that. If she happens to, if you happen to be in the state that she is responsible for, do not give women like this power.
A lot of suggestive imagery there, Cassie.
She and Keke Palmer and Sophie Turner should all go together and do a tour of all the places that they're going to try to who's going to strip the most men in that time frame, because all of them, I don't know, maybe it's endemic of all of these women who are divorced or divorcing, and they just feel that they need to behave in such a trampy manner. Because all three of them, we've talked about this type of behavior in 3 sessions, and it's the same. It seems to be the same type. They're divorced or divorcing. Their husbands or ex-husbands are remarkably weak, and they are all publicly shaming themselves and behaving in this really sleazy manner. I don't know what it is. It can't, and they're all from different political persuasions, and apparently from also from different nationalities or nations. So it's probably something in the culture that somehow is encouraging women to behave as hoes, and somehow they're elevated into the grand dames of our culture. I'm perplexed. Maybe it's also the idea about the Real Housewives, how that boorish behavior is celebrated. Here we're seeing something similar. I'm perplexed at the behavior of all of these people. Worse, when you have someone who is in power, like Baba Ganoush.
Boebert.
I'm never going to get her name right. So
we already had to deal with Sarah Palin. Why are we being forced to deal with Sarah Palin Jr.? This is insane.
Well, here's something that a lot of people are overlooking, and do not get me wrong, I am not defending her behavior. But there are several things that a lot of people are not acknowledging. Like, one, that camera that caught them is a night vision camera. That theater was completely dark. Now, again, not defending the behavior. The behavior was out of line. But they probably thought that nobody was going to catch him. So, psychologically speaking, Boebert was a fucking idiot because she tried using the whole, I'm getting a divorce, and yes, it kind of creates a dry spell every now and then, so I did want to get a little bit, or have a little fun. Well, there's a time for fun, and then there's a time to not do stupid shit in public. I mean, if you really want to have fun, get in your car, drive into a secluded spot. There's plenty of them in Colorado, and have some fun in your fucking car with the guy. Chances are he's not going to get a second date anyway, because you're going to find out he's a Dem afterward, but it's going to be too late. He's already got bragging rights.
I mean, let's be honest. She's not getting a second date for the fact that he's probably already smashed and dashed anyway. So it's probably
exactly. Another thing.
Go ahead.
Another thing. Why the hell would you even think it's because these people were already giving you shit before the fucking lights went out, and then you thought it was actually to start doing sexual shit. Now, to be completely accurate, folks, they didn't have what's known as actual intercourse. It was a fondle job. It was a freaking hand job and a boob job. That was it.
Just to be fair,
call that harmless.
The video shows that. I'm pretty sure that didn't stop there after they got kicked out of the theater. So we can only assume that things went much further the way that they were going.
They were definitely getting some. They were definitely getting some, or getting some afterward. I mean, they were basically doing foreplay in the theater. They weren't actually doing sexual shit they weren't actually having sex in the theater. They were doing foreplay. But still, that would be a person hot to try if they're human, that is. And so, yeah, chances are they got or went further afterward. But as it is, there have been so many politicians that have done heinous shit. I mean, John F. Kennedy, a lot of people love to praise him as one of the best presidents ever. Did you know that man had sexual allegations against him? Did you know that he was also cheating on his wife? I mean, yeah. There are so many freaking politicians out there. I remember this other one who was running for office. Apparently, I think she actually stepped down. This was recent too, where she got caught naked with one of her secretaries.
Oh yes,
and it's.
I think
Katie was combing her female secretary's hair.
Katie Hill.
Yep.
Yep. Congresswoman
that
from California. Yep.
I believe she actually stepped down. And it's like, so one Republican got down and dirty. How many Democrats have got down and dirty? I mean, it's pretty much, like I said, not defending Boebert here, but.
Well, here's where I'll push back on that.
Oh my God.
Well, see, here's where I'll push back on that. It's like, yeah, look, we all know that Democrats are sexual degenerates. Like, that's no surprise to anyone. Like we've known.
They all are.
Exactly. They don't hide it anymore, right? But this woman, like I said, is a woman who presents herself as the all-American Christian family woman. She should not be getting caught doing stuff like this because that makes her a hypocrite, and it makes other people who associate with her hypocrites by association.
I'm going to push back on that Democrat
a bunch of marks.
That is true.
Is what it does.
Yeah.
So the problem here is they're all sexual deviants. Democrats and Republicans. They're all fucked up. They're all people trying to sell an image to their constituents. They're all full of shit. Okay, that's the whole point. It's not a party thing.
That's
These
why
people in Washington are sick fucks.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've heard things about Washington.
Just aspect into it.
Like I said, I've heard things about Washington, both Democrat and Republican.
Look. First, I'm going to say that whatever his flaws, we never heard Jimmy Carter stripping anyone. In fact, he was the one who got in trouble for saying that he had secretly lusted in his heart, and people made fun of him for that, taking that scripture a little out of context. Yep, there's been all sorts of scandals. Warren Harding was basically a super slut, where I think his own dad said that if you were a woman, you would be in trouble all the time because he would have been knocked up all over the place.
He had a child out of wedlock.
Yeah, he had a
right before he was elected president.
Woodrow Wilson was apparently stooping his soon-to-be second wife after his first wife died in the car as they were driving around Washington before he started establishing segregation all over the place. Lyndon Johnson was also like exposing himself to staff members at the White House. Nixon, I don't think so. He was too boring. So
our forefathers were freaking man whores themselves.
And then there was this congressman back in like the 60s or 70s who was involved with this stripper who, when he got caught, she ran out of the car and jumped into the tidal basin and then began another stripping career as a tidal basin bombshell. Look that up, guys. So we've always had these sort of things. And then was it last week we briefly mentioned that the candidate for the Virginia House who was making sex tapes. So we're surrounded by crazy people, and they're in power, and not just crazy people, but also senile people. Fetterman, McConnell, Feinstein, Grassley, who's 90 years old, who's going to be 90.
Biden.
We're just surrounded by these people, and they're going to get elected.
And you know what?
Probably might get elected. So I don't know. This whole thing is insane. Go ahead.
You know what says more to me than anything else? Just the way that she handles it. She, like, clearly you're doing all this stupid shit, and then you're gonna yell at them for telling you to get the fuck out of here.
But why Beetlejuice? Of all the things that could turn someone on sexually, Beetlejuice? Oh yeah, I forgot about FDR.
Look, Beetlejuice wasn't the thing that they went there for. That's just the entertainment till they get to the real entertainment. Okay.
Yeah, but paying money for good tickets so that you could,
they're using your money for the tickets. They don't give a shit about the money.
No, they're not using my money. I'm not in Colorado. They're using you know who? They're using Christian Toto's money. So he
guess what? Your representatives are using your money too. Probably do just as heinous garbage as this dumb bitch did. So
sorry, Christian.
Didn't have kids with a slave.
That was Jefferson.
Or was that
was
Johnson?
Jefferson.
Or Jefferson, yeah.
Jefferson, definitely Jefferson.
Well, I'll give Cider
back to forefather era.
I'll give Cider the last word here.
We here at the Barroom Podcast and Jacob Society Reviews would like to remind you not to have sex outside of wedlock, lest you get recorded in 4K and night vision cameras in the middle of a theater with children surrounding you. It would look bad for anybody, let alone a political candidate. So there you go. Keep it in your pants and your hands to yourself, even in the dark.
Yeah, and final note here, just because you're quote-unquote separated from your husband doesn't mean it's not adultery when you play Swallow the Leader with some other dude who's not your husband in the first place. And I think the last word here should go to our good philosopher, Ludacris, who once said, you can't turn a hoe into a housewife because hoes don't act right. There's hoes on a mission and a hoe on a crack pipe. Hey, ho, how you doing? Where you been? Probably doing hoe stuff because there you hoe again. So... And with that note, let's go ahead and bring in our good buddy TW. How you doing today, man?
Hey. Oh, I'm doing good. Shit, I didn't even know I was. Oh, I saw that I was tagged. I was like, oh, fuck. Okay. I'll be on the show. So, hi, guys.
Well, we just thought you came here in your normal time, so there you go.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, this whole thing is just a dumpster fire from start to finish. Like I said, she wasn't very bright to begin with, and then she's only exposed herself to be just as dumb as everyone thought she was in the first place. So yeah,
she is shown to have every horrendous quality to be a politician. She clearly has no self-control.
Doing the thing and
yeah, playing Honk the Milk Wagon. Yeah, she got caught doing that at a theater too. So yeah,
well, they were milking each other.
We should say though that big boobs are not a bad quality.
Mm-hmm.
No,
that's not
not necessarily good for being a politician, though. But
yeah.
she showed she has zero. She showed she has zero fucking self control. She lies through her fucking teeth.
Like, it's nothing to do with her big boobs. I'm sure half her votes came from her big boobs. She could have wrote "vote for me" right there and probably picked up more 10,000.
This is a woman that poses with AR-15s with her family. Like,
See?
It's like you know what the fuck she is. She's a complete product.
Vote for me, and then 2 AR-15s tucked under her arms. Vote for me, Perfect. She'll get reelected, guarantee it.
She might, and that's a sad thing. That all
she could have campaign rallies on her OnlyFans page. It'd be great.
Well, moving on to our next story here, we're going to talk about how feminist propaganda has now made its way to Bollywood. So, India, you're next, because there's another movie coming out here, and I know you've heard this many times before, so start me when you've heard this whole story, but a patriarchy smashing sex comedy is coming to the land of Bollywood, and its message is that all girls deserve to have a good time. So you can pretty much figure out where this is going to go very, very quickly. So the Toronto Film Festival is going on right now, and there's a movie that's literally called Thank You for Coming. A rarity. It's a Bollywood sex comedy that also serves as a patriarch smashing, women empowering tale. So yeah, good luck, India. You're next. You're next on the list. Everything that we've suffered throughout the last 10 years, now you're going to experience too. I'm not even going to pretend to pronounce some of these names because I'm not even going to give it. But the woman in the movie stars as a Dolly food blogger and a serial monogamist who has spent her entire adult life seeking a satisfying love match, both emotionally and physically, but has never had an orgasm. Poor baby. And then the morning after her engagement to a dole suitor, she wakes up satisfied, but can't remember who was responsible. I don't know what that means, but yeah, it probably just means that you're a drunk whore. The film was written by two women. Shocker! And I know you guys are absolutely stunned by this development, but it was directed by a man here. So Bollywood is getting a taste of what we have to suffer through. Here's a little tidbit here of the film, is that it's a really fine line between sleaze and tease in this film, and try to keep it in the tease in a fun space, something that I think we really worked on. Baloney, his name is Baloney as far as I'm pronouncing it. Bridget Jones was an obvious reference point to the film, as was Moonlight. Oh, so it's going to be Moonlight meets Bridget Jones. So that's going to put butts in seats.
Jesus.
When we were developing the script, honestly, I pushed myself away as far as possible because inherently I knew that it was an experience that I would never understand, at least the female pleasure point of it. This is the director speaking. And my only attempt was to make it feel like it wasn't that man was the enemy, that man was also a part of the system and just not the victim, but maybe somewhere prey to this system, because the story is so strong from a woman's point of view that we couldn't make it any other gender. Is there more than one? That is also trapped in the system. The enemy, the patriarchal system, is our antagonist, and it's invisible. So yeah, it's your turn now, India. Now all of this crap is going to be shoved down your entertainment industry. Now I find this very funny too, because India and South Korea, especially over the last 5 years, I would say, has really started to thrive in its Hollywood film industry. I guess you could say China to an extent, but that's really because of COVID, and then That's their fault to begin with. But all of a sudden, these other countries all around the world are starting to make a film industry and films that really compete with the stuff that Hollywood's putting out here. So I think they're starting to notice that the influence is shifting away from the United States, and it's starting to be in places like South Korea and India and China and these other countries. So I think the people who have been pushing perversion here in this country are starting to think to themselves, how can we do the same thing in those other countries so we can use movies to pervert their culture the same way that we've done it here in the United States. And here we get yet another sex comedy about women overcoming men by being a whore, because that's the only way to overcome the patriarchy. It's just to sleep with a bunch of dudes. Rob, I'll start this one off of you. What do you think about Bollywood finally getting theirs with this whole film here?
Yeah, I've never seen a Bollywood film. I probably never will. So this really doesn't impact me very much. However, having seen what this has done to American movies, especially American comedies, I don't think it's anything good. I know that India has a very somebody in the comments said it already, that it's very traditional culture. To the point where like it's made news how bad. I mean, again, I don't know how common it is, but like you have gang rape problems in India. Okay, like it's not like the United States. It's got 1 billion people. It's up and coming industrially, but like they have a lot of problems. Like they are not treated the same way we are. Certainly with pollution, they pollute the hell out of the environment, along with China. So I mean, it's not an apples to apples thing. But you know, I don't think this is going to make better movies. You know what I mean? So culturally, I think it's a little different. It's I'm not against necessarily more feminist portrayals, certainly in an area that is not very feminist. So and I guess that's the liberal in me. I think that's a positive thing, but I don't know. Hopefully it makes for better movies. I don't think it necessarily will. Just again how it has in America, but we'll see. For those of you that like Bollywood, I think musicals are fucking stupid for the most part. That you need to break out in song to tell your story. So just grow up. Stop singing. Just stop dancing and singing, please. Thank you.
You're a horrible man. You're a horrible man.
Yeah,
I'll say first with the Bollywood thing. First, I don't think we really need to have India do its own version of Joyride, which was supposed to be the female empowerment film for Asian Americans. I have seen Bollywood films. I've seen Bollywood films that will have a dance number, and they will pixelate certain areas of women dancing if they think that the women are dressed too provocatively. India and Indian cinema is remarkably traditional, remarkably conservative. So I'm not even sure that this would be a Bollywood film per se, because I don't really see how this could have lavish musical numbers attached to it. Like the woman's going to wake up and she's going to do a dance number to the celebration of her orgasm. It just seems a very strange idea. I don't see how this is really reflective of what will happen in Indian cinema. There have been some films that have tried to do this. They've tried to have like the Bollywood version of Bros. They've tried to have the Bollywood version, the Bollywood version of more empowering films, but India is very resistant to this right now. If you notice, the governing party by Prime Minister Modi is very conservative and very Hindu nationalistic. I don't see how they're going to succeed in making a Bollywood movie about female orgasms, and it is still a remarkably patriarchal society, excessively so, because Robert's right. They do have very negative issues with gang rapes, and there have been a lot of issues and controversies about that. But I don't really see that this is going to be changing a lot of Bollywood films. We're not going to have the female empowerment version of RRR anytime soon. I just don't think. I don't see that happening.
Not from this trash. Certainly not.
Well, I mean, it's kind of. I'm curious as to the general projections that this, of how much money this film's going to make, because that really is the make or break for if this even, has a potential of being a normalized thing over, in India. So I'm curious as to that. Do I think that, it's, I like to think that, generally speaking, it's good to find like a happy medium with a lot of things. It's never good to be too conservative, but it's never good to be, just throwing your ass out there by any means either, So maybe this, I think that given, and I don't really know much about India besides the fact that they are a lot more conservative than we are out here. I don't think that this film will do well. I think it'd have a hard time doing well. Do I think that maybe, at least Bollywood, they'll reassess like, their thought process of putting out these sorts of movies, and maybe it could lead to them, challenging what is culturally normal in maybe more productive ways. Because I think that it's cool to, challenge the status quo. That's why I like 70s film is some of my all-time favorites, because they went out of their way to do a lot of things that were just like frowned upon. Hollywood actively went against to shut down for many years, and so that ended up being one of the most influential periods of filmmaking history. So do I think that, this is a good idea? No, because it's terrible, and it is shown to have a very negative influence on culture. But do I think that maybe, they can reassess and maybe actually come out with films that do challenge what is, acceptable and unacceptable, that actually can be helpful to the medium? Yeah. So we'll see what happens with that. I'm generally curious to see how successful a film like this can be in a country like that, or if they'll just send it off over here where we'll inflate the the price of which the amount of money revenue this piece of shit will generate.
Yeah.
So
it feels like this is going to be one of those movies that'll probably flop in that region, but then they'll throw it in over here, and then of course the Americans are going to love it because it promotes all the degenerate crap that they love about films. But sorry to rethink about this.
International film.
Honestly, I don't know a heck of a lot about Bollywood. I know about Mr. Batman and a couple of the other really crazy CGI buffets they put together. Particularly the one where the man is using a gun with his crotch to shoot the enemy. That was pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But inserting this into their kind of system, it feels sort of natural to what happens to a nation that is suddenly bombarded with, I wouldn't say first world problems, but second world problems anyway, if that's a thing. I don't know if the second world's a thing. I've never heard it, but it's either the third world or the first world. The second world just, nobody cares.
It's just first world and ash. That's all it is.
Right. So shitholes, as our former president used to say. But so this is pretty natural for what happens. I mean, you take a look at what happened in the United States. A little bit after the Civil War, you had during and beyond, you had figures like Virginia Woolf and other female poets that really broke away from what was acceptable at the time. You saw the growth of the suffragettes in the early 1900s that won the right to vote and that sort of thing. It seems kind of natural for a nation that has spent a great deal of its time in survival mode, that once we have enough to survive on is achieved, these first world problems start to leak through, I guess. And so this movie screams first world problems in a second world country. I don't know.
Yeah. So I want to go back just real quick to a story that I wrote last year. I'll pop this back up here. And this is kind of regarding India. And there is a push for diversity and inclusion within the Bollywood market. Now, you think to yourself, how can you be diverse and inclusive in Bollywood in India. That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't mean they're not going to push forward anyway. This was one back in August. Like I said, this is back when, like I said, RRR was doing well within the community here. But this is a media watchdog that's been like the last 10, 15 years analyzing how diverse and diverse a lot of these modern TV shows is. So Amazon Prime began working with India media consulting firms, and they released a new report targeting the lack of diversity in Indian cinema, especially with women. And the report said that out of 100 films and 50 series that were released in 2021 in that region, this is going on the report that only 10% of them had senior roles that were held by women. It also complains about the roles in major media and entertainment houses as well. So they're saying that a lot of the films, and I'm not even making this up, failed the Bechdel test when it comes to Indian cinema, which should be a shock to absolutely no one. But it says that only 55% of their films passed it at the time, which I guess is a problem now. And then only 25% of the time had a female character talk 10 seconds or less. So they're trying to make the argument here that, you know, because they're failing these progressive tests for movies that are absolute nonsense, that there needs to be more female representation in Bollywood, and that's going to be their angle for the push here. So it's like, you know, we're saying, how can you push for diversity and inclusion in India? Well, we have to have more women in charge because it's too male dominated at the moment. So movies like this is going to be what they use to kind of push in this new era of female centric of Indian films here. And like I said, if this is what's coming to India, you guys better pucker up and kiss your butts goodbye, because it's all downhill from here.
But again, eventually, I think the market will be the one to decide. Because
if they care too much about diversity, they should really focus on that.
I can't wait for that one. We don't have enough Pakistanis in this movie.
We need to have a Bollywood movie about Jinnah, who the founder of Pakistan. I would just argue that I think it's going to be the market. We've seen a whole here in the United States. We've seen films like Bros, like Joyride. They have all crashed and burned, despite their diversity, despite their inclusion. India, which is much more resistant, how are they going to pass this off? I mean, we haven't had many Bollywood films about same-sex relationships because the majority of Indians are probably not same-sex oriented. We've not had a lot of Bollywood films about women discovering the joys of orgasm because these are the same studios and industry that wants to literally pixelate provocative costumes. So I don't know how well this will do. I think Cassie had mentioned about how it's going to do box office wise. A successful film will always spawn off more in that vein. An unsuccessful film, which this one might be, will not. And again, I'm just curious. I think maybe Cassie or Rob brought this up. Is this targeted toward the Indian market, or is it targeted more toward like Indians who live in the West, Britain, like the US, like Canada, South Africa? Who's the target audience here?
I gotta point out, there may not be a target audience very soon because Canada and India are about to go to war because, of course, apparently India was behind the assassination of a very popular, well-regarded Sikh leader in Canada. And Justin Trudeau is pretty, wary about that. And Modi is pretty bring it on about that. So
my money's on Modi. He'll roll over Fidel Castro Jr., allegedly.
Have you seen comparison pictures between Trudeau and yo, they look identical. You can't tell me that Trudeau's pops is really his pops. And apparently, from what I heard, apparently Trudeau's mother did in fact sleep with the man in Cuba. I'm just saying. That's what I heard, allegedly.
That's why he's Fidel Castro, allegedly. Fidel Castro.
So does Canada even have its own nukes? Or are they like ours?
Well,
yeah, they're basically ours. They have to ask us for permission.
Yeah. And you know, since we keep losing our airplanes, Canada's pretty much in danger.
I mean, in all honesty, I'm down for India invading Canada and destroying that country because Canada sucks anyway. We don't really need them. I mean,
Yeah, please get rid of all the French Canadians, please. Oh my God.
I mean, all the regular Canadians are bad too. I mean, especially you ever been to Toronto?
In the end, one thing always, ends up being true. Survival of the fittest. If you as a country are not fit to survive, maybe you just shouldn't be here anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wish the Destructor was here because he can go on a whole big rant about why he hates Canada. He's stuck in Montreal right now, so he has it bad.
Oh, dude, that's the worst.
You talk to most Canadians, though, they'll tell you that the Indians already took over.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I
let's
know
make
some
it official.
Canadians. I know some Canadians. I'll ask them.
Yeah, Kate brought up a question here. Like, didn't aspects of Hinduism and New Age already make its way into India? I mean, I don't know too much on Hinduism. We're still studying that for our other show right now. But it seems like if you have millions of female-centric gods, that this whole plan was probably inevitable at the end of the day. So
Well,
yeah, I'm surprised it took this long too.
If anyone ever saw that Netflix documentary Wild Wild Country about the Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh, what was that? The sex guru who loved
Oregon.
capitalism. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what is it with Oregon that just attracts all of these people?
The Pacific Northwest
Nike.
is kind of a sought after location for hippies, weirdos, spiritualists, serial killers. The Green River Killers from there, Ted Bundy's from there. A few others. So there's something weird about the Pacific Northwest. It's like basically Canada, but not. So I don't know.
Hey, I know
You think
that.
Yeah. You think serial killers look at like modern day like Portland and San Francisco and just think I ain't going killing out there? Those people are crazy.
Right.
All right. Any final thoughts on this one before we jump over?
India.
Yeah, India already had a female prime minister. Granted, she was the daughter of the former prime minister. So I don't know how you can smash the patriarchy when they've had female leaders.
Yeah, right. Like, all I say is that Canada can take a caste system at this point, so I say all in on the war on Canada there. So let's jump over to our second major story of the night. And this has been the whole debacle here with Russell Brand, because Russell Brand has been the target of like a major spear campaign essentially for the last few days. Now, Russell Brand did a video not too long ago saying that, he knew these allegations were coming out. He was told by media outlets that this was coming, so he came out and did a video. He says that he fundamentally denies these allegations that's been laid against him. If you guys don't know who Russell Brand was, he was like a British comedian, got really popular towards like the end of like the 2000s there. He was in a bunch of movies. He married Katy Perry for a couple of years, so that was kind of like a thing. But he's been known for being, like I said, a partier. And like I said, he's one of those like British, party, drug, sex like celebrities. That's kind of been his shtick most of his career.
About that. Get Russell Brand to the whatever it was.
Get him to the Greek.
Which was a sequel to Forgetting Sarah Marshall. Saw both in theaters. Yep.
Yeah. And that was a movie about that he was just too fucked up to do anything on his own.
He's basically playing himself. Yeah.
Yeah, essentially.
And a terrible Arthur remake.
Oh, it was terrible. Greta Gerwig was in that.
But over the course of the last couple of years, he's kind of like cleaned up his life for some extent. I mean, to his extent to where he was before. He's kind of tried to move away from the sex and the drugs and that kind of rock and roll lifestyle. And over the last few years, he's been doing like these political shows, kind of talking about like conspiracies and about is the government really trying to depopulate us? And he's trying to find like his own like say Joe Rogan type of outlet there by doing like that type of style stuff. But he's been getting a big following here over the last few years. And people have noticed that there's been a change, in his personality and a change in the things that he has said here. So, of course, when you start becoming popular and you're not saying the things that, the cabal wants you to say, oh, here comes the allegations. Now they're saying that, oh, he raped a bunch of women. He sexually assaulted a bunch of women. And like I said, this is a guy who's been very honest about his sexual escapades, like in the past, which is like, I'm more inclined to believe someone who's, like I said, unlike Lauren Boebert over there, who's tried to hide a lot of her scandalous things. Like Brand has been pretty open about his stuff. So when people try to say that those nefarious allegations here, I don't really tend to believe that too much. Because I mean, look, let's be honest. We all know that women tend to be very promiscuous, especially in the last few years. So I don't believe that Russell Brand. Yeah, especially you. But I don't believe that. I don't believe that Russell Brand had to try too hard to get women to sleep with him, especially during his time in Hollywood. I don't think that that's what happened here. But the allegation started that he's been accused of rape, sexual assault, and emotional abuse, which is now a new thing now after the fact. In a report by the Sunday Times of London, there was an investigation of him in Channel 4's documentary Dispatches that says that 5 women who remain to anonymous have agreed to share their stories of serial sexual allegations to the program. Russell Brand, like I said, British comedian. He's been a part in so many shows, movies. He was part of Big Brother UK for a little bit of time there. He's been in a couple of big films. Has been accused of sexual assault by 4 women between 2006 and 2013. Like I said, married to Katy Perry. The newspaper said one of the alleged victims said that Brand assaulted her when she was 16, and then he was in his 30s. Both of them emotionally and sexually abusive. One thing I do want to point out here, just in case people are looking at that, the legal age of consent in the UK is 16. So I mean, if this happened in the UK, it is legal there. I'm not saying that it's right. I'm just kind of give context to that thing. It's saying some pretty harsh things here, saying that he forced his penis down her throat, causing her to choke. I'm just let it say that's the allegation there. Another incident said that he removed the condom during intercourse without her knowledge. A woman also said that Brand nicknamed her the Child and asked her to read passages from Vladimir Kafka's novel Lolita during the time together. Said one kissed her mother on the mouth. So it says saying some pretty disgusting things here, according to these allegations. Another one said the alleged victim said that she was raped by the comedian in his home in 2012 while they were working together in the LA. Said that he sexually assaulted her in his West LA home in 2013 and threatened to take legal action if he ever spoke of it. Like I said, there's a whole bunch of other allegations here about him flashing, his penis to people, being intimate pictures of women being thrown around there. Apparently, he's had very rough sex life. Apparently he's pretty aggressive in bed, according to some of these allegations too here. So all of this came out over the weekend, and since then everyone's been coming out to distance themselves from him. I think his agency dropped him. YouTube demonetized him completely, so he's completely demonetized off of YouTube. Katy Perry, of all people, came out and said that there were some problems with their relationship, that he was emotionally abusive to her, which I find very, very funny, because if you remember why they got divorced in the first place, he filed for divorce from her because, according to Russell Brand, she was the party animal and that he couldn't handle her lifestyle. That was his words almost a decade ago. So if you're too much of a party animal for Russell Brand before he turned his life around, that probably says a little bit more about you than him. But I digress. But all of these people now are dogpiling on Russell Brand. So people are coming out and saying, is this just a correlated attack? Because, like I said, he's coming out against Big Pharma. He's coming out against all of these institutions here, and he's saying things that, maybe the mainstream doesn't exactly like, and they don't want him saying these things. And then, of course, the day when these allegations came out, this video went viral. It's a short little clip here from Bill Maher, but I'll go ahead and play this one. And this obviously got a lot of people upset within certain communities, but I'll listen to him talk here.
Out of respect for you and your show, I've brought some facts. Would you? If you like, they're actually.
You just get the fuck out of here. This is not the place.
I thought you'd like facts.
We love facts. I love facts.
I wouldn't have mentioned it. I'm English, and you know that politeness is our fundamental religion. But they do pertain to this issue. So may I say some of them? If they inconvenience you, I'll stop saying them. The pandemic created at least 40 new big pharma billionaires. Pharmaceutical corporations like Moderna and Pfizer made $1,000 of profit every second from the COVID-19 vaccine. More than two-thirds of Congress received campaign funding from pharmaceutical companies in the 2020 election. Pfizer chairman Albert Bourla told Time magazine in July 2020 that his company was developing a COVID vaccine for the good of humanity, not for money. And of course, Pfizer made $100 billion in profit in 2022. And may I just mention, finally, and this is also a fact, that you, the American public, funded the development of that. The German public funded the BioNTech vaccine. When it came to the profits, they took the profits. When it came to the funding, you paid for the funding. all I'm querying is this.
Yes.
Is if you have an economic system in which pharmaceutical companies benefit hugely from medical emergencies, where a military industrial complex benefits from war, where energy companies benefit from energy crises, you are going to generate states of perpetual crisis where the interests of ordinary people separate from the interests of the elite.
Yes.
So yeah, there's Russell Brand there on Bill Maher show a while back ago. So people are obviously asking the question now, are we dealing with another Johnny Depp situation, or are we dealing with somebody who, like I said, has angered the powers that be, and now they're trying to figure out a way to destroy him? Because I guess you guys haven't figured it out, or you guys maybe don't remember. We got an election coming up here very, very soon, especially next year. So it seems like they're trying to preemptively take down anyone who could be a vehicle of influence before the very next election here, because it looks like we're going to get Trump and Biden again, and we don't want anyone there that can possibly hurt Biden's chances of re-election. You saw that Fox News got rid of Tucker Carlson conveniently before the election cycle got started. We've seen a lot of people being brought down now on multiple social media platforms and such. So I just have to press a question to you here. Do you believe the allegations, or do you think that there's something afoot here? I'll start with start with Cider. I haven't heard Cider talk enough tonight, so we'll kick this one off with you there, buddy.
Well, to be honest with you, what we've seen, especially with this cancel culture thing, is that men especially are, I would say, pregnable to it. And so I can't speak to Russell Brand's sexual attitudes, but if this stuff was not brought to the authorities when it happened, I'm sorry. I just don't have mercy for you. If you can't go to the police and say, "Hey, I was violated by this man. This man went against what I consented to. I did not consent to have various genitalia shoved down my windpipe." And that didn't happen. Fear, great, but in the post Me Too movement, you get like a Girl Scout badge for Me Tooing a guy. It's like a rite of passage now to cancel him. So I can't. I could have said this in 2016 and said, "Oh wow, maybe this is real," but I just can't now, because why wouldn't you haul him out? What this looks like, and we know what Russell Brand was like back in the 2010s and 2016, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
What it looks like is the guy that was in the ticket decided he didn't want to be on the ticket anymore. And they are getting rid of him because he's out there piloting the power they gave him, and they can't pull it back out. So the only thing left to do is Herman Cain him.
Yep, discredit him so people stop listening to him. If you can't do that, then you'll just silence him altogether. So, Cassie, what's your take on this story?
Unless you bring some actual legitimate evidence that is, not taken place, not like from 10 years ago, I really don't care. As what is her name? Boebert has proven, women can be lying whores just like men can. So I really just don't care. As far as I could tell, it does seem like it's a smear campaign against him because, well, he does speak against the status quo. And I'm not even like the biggest freaking like Russell Brand guy. Like I've watched his YouTube videos like here and there. It's not
Russell Brand guy. That'd be weird.
Yeah.
No, but like just generally speaking, like I don't really watch his content very much. I'll catch like a video here and there. It's been actually a minute since I've actually, watched his videos, but I just don't give a shit about bullshit ass allegations because we're desensitized to it already. If you have a problem with Russell Brand or that's from the past, whatever, you should have handled it when it was an issue, not when it was a non-issue and he happens to be against the establishment, because naturally immediately people are going to think it's a smear campaign. So I don't know what these people are trying to do, but I don't care. And I think the mass majority of people that support Russell Brand don't give a shit either. So it just gives the establishment the means to put the kibosh on him. I mean, YouTube has demonetized him. I believe you said Society.
Yeah, completely demonetized him. They announced that earlier today.
Yeah, and guess what, man? You think that you won by that? Well, he's gonna get money some way, shape, or form. That's and probably more. Who knows? That's how it is, especially when people see one of the the people that speak up for them getting trounced on like Russell Brand is. So you think that
But
you may
by
be
the way, I just want to point this out just real quick too. The second that Katy Perry threw her hat into this whole thing, that's what I knew. Okay, I truly believe that this entire allegation is nothing but a bunch of BS. Because if Katy Perry's trying to call somebody out for being manipulated with her background, it's like, okay, there's definitely this whole thing smells like a bunch of crap. And then surprisingly enough, it was also announced just 2 days after she publicly buried Russell Brand that she's selling her music catalog for $225 million. So very convenient, the timing of that whole story there. But Rob, what's your thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean Russell Brand has been kind of always I've always had like an up and down relationship with him in the sense that there are moments when he's good, when he's really speaking from that, trying to expose corruption point of view. And then the other half he's being kind of a party animal idiot, having a good time, yucking it up with people that like okay, we see you, we get it. So I've always thought of, even in this new variety, I've always thought of Russell Brand as sort of controlled opposition, if you're familiar with the term. So this whole thing does definitely look bad. Definitely looks like a smear campaign. Listen, I've followed every single sexual assault case or claims of impropriety since Me Too. And let me tell you, the majority of them, when it's years after the fact, and I mean years, and I've just as a test, I have defended every single person that's been accused, and I have been right almost every single time in the sense of what comes out of it, like what happens, what the outcome is. It's like, oh shit. It's like, whether it's Johnny Depp or Marilyn Manson or, it's like, and I hate that it's the most cynical bone in my body, and yet I've been right almost every single time. Saying that Evan Rachel Wood, all that Westworld money dried up, I guess, huh? You got bored. You know what I mean? And it's what these girls are doing. They're drumming up their past regrets and the mistakes they made by being with men that they now regret being with. That's all this is. Aziz Ansari, again, I don't particularly think he's that funny, but he doesn't have a career anymore because he had a bad date with a girl. That stupid article came out. He hasn't been in anything for years. I don't know what the hell that's about. So who knows? Who knows if these things are brought up to get rid of people? I mean, who knows? I mean,
let's be honest here. They've weaponized allegations because like Russell Brand at this point doesn't need to see like a single day in court with anything that's been alleged against him. And he probably won't at the end of the day, but the allegation is out there. And because we live in a society now that treats allegation like, oh, okay, well, he's guilty, and everyone, like, that's what they really wanted to do. It's like they wanted to pull his sponsorships, they wanted to pull his YouTube money, they want to pull his agency. So they've done essentially what they wanted to do, which is destroy his reputation. That's going to financially hurt him. And whether any of these allegations either go anywhere now is completely irrelevant because the damage has already been done. And they know that's exactly their entire plan. This is what they wanted to do in the first place, is that we need to hurt him financially. And maybe if we do that, he'll stop saying the things that we don't want him to say.
And what's weird here is that I grew up kind of reading about, whatever, celebrities and artists and famous people, and like the idea that, you should have a kind of open mind to, behind closed doors, people are adults and whatever happens is their business. That was generally the belief or the thought. And like the fact that basically this guy's being shamed because of how he likes to have sex. And we don't even know if it's true because it's basically coming out of these women who say, well, this happened 8 years ago or 7 years ago or 10 years ago. And it's like, I agree with Cider. This is what I say every time. If something happened, if something genuinely happened, if you were violated, go to the police. Use the legal system to your advantage, because guess what? They have to listen to you. They have people nowadays, they have people at police stations where it's like they will get their ass sued if they don't take it seriously. So it's like you have a system to help you if you were violated. And a lot of these cases, guess what? It's not about a criminal case. It's a civil case, which means it's about money. So it's like, if you can't see through that, I can't help you. If you want to believe all women because you're sympathetic, look, I get it. I mean, I completely understand being at a disadvantage, being on the street and being afraid or whatever. But it's like, if something happened to you, you owe it to other victims, you owe it to yourself to report it, because that's the only way justice is going to be done, is if you take that responsibility.
Yep, very straight to a point. Rick, what do you think?
I really can't add much to what Robert and Cider have said, because I agree with them as well. Let's go ahead and just assume that everything that happened, as the women allege, did happen. You then, by not reporting it, allowed this kind of behavior to continue, and you put other women at risk. You owe it not just to yourself, as a victim, if you were a victim, but you owe it to potential victims to report this immediately. Charges that are 9 years old, 10 years old, make it more suspect. Whether it actually is true or not, by this point, such a wide gap has occurred that it does raise the idea that it's a smear, that it's being targeted, and all of them coming out at the same time also makes people suspicious. It doesn't say that none of this did not happen. We weren't there. But you need to report it. You need to report it if it happened immediately. It gives people time to collect evidence, to take statements. By letting this gap, that's why people establish statute of limitations, because there's such a wide gap in a lot of cases. You doing this now, it just opens yourself up to allegations that you're just trying to do you either might want to do a shakedown, or you're just trying to smear his reputation for XYZ. It's it's very unfair. And also, I would just add that I'm not comfortable with the idea that you just believe all women by believing by the fact of that they're women. That's why you have the allegation, you form it, you charge the person, you take them to court, you have a trial, and then the jury, if it's a jury trial, or the judge, decide if the person is guilty or not. Just slinging accusations and saying, well, this person sexually assaulted me, and by virtue of me being a woman, or by virtue of me just being here, you have to now say that he's guilty. That goes against the judicial process. It goes against the presumption of innocence. You have to have the person has to have the day in court. Charge him, indict him if you have proof. I mean, usually indictments are pretty simple or easy to get, but that's why you have the trials. You can't just say, "Oh, a person did something to me," and say, "Oh, okay, I'll believe you. I'll just accept that this person is going to be shunned from society." We've gone from the Salem witch trials to this. This was the same thing. You know, the girls would just accuse someone of being a witch. The people believed them. And they were strung up or had rocks pressed upon them. We need to establish the process, the legal process. That's what it's set up for. It's set up to protect both the victims
But
and the alleged
here's the problem: is that no one here is really going at this from a legal perspective, because, like I said, this whole thing was brought around by the media because they're trying to bring to light alleged allegations of things that allegedly happened upwards of 17 years ago at the latest here at this point. So there's nothing here to be like, oh, I want to press criminal charges based on something that allegedly happened in 2008. It's just like, no, they were basically fishing for any kind of negative story they could possibly get their hands on. And like I said, this whole thing is about damaging someone's reputation more than it is about we're actually trying to work the end of the law.
Yeah, but in that case, it's just hearsay. It's gossip, and it has very little basis in legal fact.
But they don't care though, because like I said, the media is driving this story. So the media is going to craft whatever narrative they can out of this, whether it's true or not. Whether we find out, a couple of years from now that this is all BS, he's still going to remain demonetized from YouTube. His agents are never going to take him back. Like, that's the whole point of what they're trying to do here. The whole point of what they're trying to do is to damage him, not to actually charge him with the full extent of the law and all this other stuff. It's like they don't care about any of that. As long as the damage is done, that's their whole point of doing any of this.
His agency is within its rights to drop him if they want to, but I also am concerned that you're just accused of something, and automatically you're considered guilty. You again, I'm not comfortable with
I mean,
that.
that's
And
basically where we've been at for like the last 5 years at least. Like that's what the entire Me Too era is. Like ever since Harvey Weinstein, it's like, well, as long as we can accuse someone of something, whether it happened 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 40 years ago, that's the new era. It's like Harvey Weinstein. Then it was who was the Supreme Court justice, Kavanaugh. Then it was like the allegations against him. It's like they've created a new playbook to weaponize allegations, whether they are true or not, whether they are proven true or not. They don't care. They're going to weaponize these things to destroy a person's career. Like if you remember, Cassie, years ago, I think it was like 5 years ago, Enzo Amore was a big star in the WWE, and they were doing like the 25th anniversary of Raw one night, and there was an allegation from a woman in Arizona saying that Enzo had sexually assaulted her, right? And WWE, without allowing the police to do their job, do any investigation, fired him on the spot. Just fired him because the allegation came out.
It's technically even more ridiculous than that, because the police were like, come to find out, he had to force the police to carry out the investigation because the police were just going to leave it there, which would have made which would have fucked him. So he had to get a lawyer to force the police to investigate, to come to the conclusion that, yeah, it's bullshit. That's literally what he had to do.
And then it was proven to be bullshit a few months later, but did WWE ever give him his job back because they wrongfully fired him in the first place? No, they just used that as justification of, well, you're out of here. See, we'll never hire you again.
It's a panicked reaction. It's a panicked reaction. As soon as someone makes any kind of accusation, people will immediately drop you because they don't want to be guilty by association. I would just say that I'm not cynical enough to think that power or trying to control others is worth the price of someone's reputation. I'm disappointed. Again, if you are the victim of a sexual assault, you should report it immediately for yourself and to prevent this person from doing this to other people. You should not wait 7 years or 8 years. It's just better to report it as immediately. Otherwise, you're opening up yourself to these kinds of allegations, assuming that this happened. We don't know, but if it didn't happen, you're really going after someone for what purpose? To demonetize him, or to say, oh well, he's criticizing this pharmaceutical industrial complex. It's not. I don't think it's worth it, and it's sad that people think that it is. So I mean, that's all I really have to say on that subject. I'm so sad. I'm so sad that it's gotten to this point.
Yeah, like I said, we've been here for a minute here. So, yeah, like I said, pretty much my feelings on this whole situation. Russell Brand, whether you like him or not, and I typically don't really like him much either. Like, I've never really been a fan of his at any real point. And I get that he seemingly has changed his life, a lot of aspects of his life for the better. Good for him. But like I said, he's a guy who's been very open about, his past. We all know that he was part of the Hollywood system years ago. So, him being, let's just put it this way, a sexual degenerate of any kind, shape or form of 15 to 20 years ago shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. But I find it this is very hypocritical of Hollywood, because we were just talking about a story here a second ago where Hollywood loves to endorse these stories of, hey, women, just go out there and be whores and sleep with as many men as you possibly can, because that's empowering and that's good. That's what you should do. But apparently when a man sleeps with a bunch of women, then all of a sudden he's like a predator. He manipulated her in the sex. So it's like, you can't have it both ways. Either you're promoting degeneracy or you're not. Like, you can't be, well, we're only going to promote it when it's a woman sleeping with as many guys as she wants and let all the consequences be gone from her. But if a man does it, he's a predator, and that's bad. It's like, no, we're not going to do this whole game. Either you want people to be whores or you're not. If you're going to celebrate women being whores, then you can't sit here and complain when guys like Russell Brand are also whores too, because you're both on the same team at the end of the day. So any final thoughts you guys have here before we jump over to our closer?
Be serious about, allegations. To me, this says a lot about the people making said allegations. You didn't take it seriously.
like I said, a lot of people don't take this seriously. They're just out here trying to, like I said, use this as a tear down tactic, or just promote this absolute just degeneracy, and then have the audacity to come out and be like, when he does it, he's bad. It's like, no, it's one way or the other here. But our closer here for the night is that GLAAD has come out with their new ratings for LGBTQ representation for major studios. So, as we've been following here the last couple of years, GLAAD has really pushed studios to increase the number of LGBTQ representation in their movies, which means more gays, more trans, more lesbians, more pansexual and non-binary weirdos in films, and they have to be from the major studios or else it doesn't count. So GLAAD, I guess, rallied with their queer SAG and Writers Guild members and released a new studio scorecard here. So let's go ahead and look at this scorecard, because they rated the studios, and some of the studios didn't get good enough grades here according to this whole thing. Yeah, so they released their studio responsibility index, which ranks the queer representation in movies and films, and they rank them based on the 6 major studios and other studios out there. So we get to see who's on the naughty list and who's on the not so naughty list. Sarah Kate Ellis, who's the person who runs GLAAD, she's the CEO. Everything that comes out of GLAAD comes from her for the most part. She's the one pushing the majority of this crap. She says that the workers' empowerment and the fight for authentic LGBTQ plus representation in the media is all a part of the same struggle. I'm gonna go ahead to here. It says, I'm here on the behalf of the 160,000 members and actors who are all types of media artists. I'm here for the members of the LGBTQ community as a father of 5. This is actually no, that's not SAG president. No, this is Duncan Ireland here. This is the chief negotiator here. So he's essentially negotiating as a member of the Writers Guild and as SAG essentially here. They're still on strike, and let's be honest here, they've been striking for how long now? About 3 months. It feels somewhere it's been around that time since they've been doing this. And given the type of quality that they're giving us, in all honesty, I think you guys can just strike forever and no one's really going to care at this point. But let's get to the kind of the nitty gritty here. So here's some of the findings that are on this report. So here's some of the important takeaways here. Over half, 75% of LGBTQ characters clocked in at under 5 minutes of screen time in major movies and television shows. GLAAD counted 202 LGBTQ characters across 100 inclusive films. Of those characters, 40% of them were gay people of color, while others, which is an increase over last year. So I guess they're increasing their numbers here. Like I said, 163 of them were men, 119 of them were women, 10 were non-binary, 7 of the women characters, 6 of them were transgender. So 20 of the 100 exclusive films counted bisexual characters, and the polling made up that 58% of the community, I guess, is bisexual here. They counted transgender characters, characters with a disability, which includes AIDS, apparently. Oh, yeah, here you go. Here, only one character portrayed living with someone with HIV, so apparently they need to bump that number up. People with literal AIDS need to be represented in movies here too, but
it's gone way down though. Like AIDS itself has gone way down because it's better managed now.
Yeah, I mean they've pretty much like made like a. I mean, Big Pharma has quite literally made like an entire industry out of serving people with AIDS and HIV now. It's gotten to that point.
Well, I don't know how much representation AIDS victims can get when people no longer wear the red ribbons.
Yeah, right. It was the ribbons that drove down the numbers, but here we have. So this is the overall findings. They've listed a number of different studios. They gave A24 a good rating because out of 14 total films, 5 of them were inclusive to the LGBTQ community based on representation. Amazon Studios has a fair rating with 12 out of 35 movies. Apple TV has a poor rating because only 2 of their 11 movies had representation. Lionsgate has a failing rating because only 1 out of 6 of their films had gay representation. Universal Comcast has a good rating with 9 out of 37. Netflix has a fair rating with 24 out of 107 films. Paramount has a fair rating with 7 out of 24 films. Sony is insufficient because they have 8 out of 38 films out of their library. The Walt Disney Company has a good rating with 24 out of 59, which is the highest percentage of any of the other. That's like second highest percentage out of anyone else on here at 41%. And then Warner Brothers was giving it insufficient with 8 out of 19, which is 42%. But out of the total number of films, it seems like the two studios with the most LGBTQ representation out of actual quantity here is Disney and Netflix. So if you want something really, really gay or really, really trans, go to Disney and go to Netflix. And I guess the other ones that really have to shape up here are like Lionsgate, Apple, and I guess maybe who's the other one who's got pretty bad numbers here? It seems like those are the main two that have bad numbers based on this whole outcome here. But like I said, we're still going in. We need more representation. We need more gays on TV. We need more trans on TV. I think everyone is generally tired of it because just having people in a film that are gay just so we can have representation adds absolutely nothing to movies whatsoever. Rob, I think we talked about this on Friday night. I saw the film Bottoms, which is basically a ripoff of an 80s sex comedy, but instead of having two guys trying to have sex with their local high school crushes, it's two lesbians in the same process, and it just doesn't work like at all. Like, it clearly shows that you guys basically just took two main characters out and replaced them with lesbians. I thought that it was going to work the same way, but you have to watch a lot of these movies, so I'll go ahead and start with you. What is your take on GLAAD's ratings here for studios? Do you think that there's room for improvement for representation in these films here?
Look, I'm gonna use the term that I don't think it exists, but I like it, and I'm gonna use it. Cool gays. Cool gays hate GLAAD. Okay, they think it's an insufferable, annoying, preachy, overbearing organization.
Right.
Just like Black Lives Matter, just like any of these the ADL, any of these organizations that claim to speak for a specific group based on, what's best for society and the cultural influences therein. It's just like, shut the fuck up. Stop telling people what is supposed to represent them. I know plenty of fucking very cool gay people who they don't want to be talked down to. They don't want another AIDS drama. They don't want clean neutral sort of like non-edgy characters that are automatons that project whatever the values that you want them to vomit out of their mouth. Treat them like any other market. Treat them like any other consumer. Like any other consumer, they want to see stories about romance and adventure and challenging the hero to achieve their goal by the end of the movie. Like, it's the same thing. Stop trying to say you're not gay inclusive enough when representation doesn't make any movie better. It doesn't make any movie better. The skin color, the sexual orientation, the showing gay people as they are in reality has nothing to do with telling fictional stories. You know what I mean? And you're talking about things that are incredibly cosmetic. They're surface based. They're not about any kind of meaningful human connection. And so it's like, I don't understand this. It's vomit coming out of these people's mouths. They think it's their duty to tell people what they should want to see on screen. And guess what? Nobody's going to the movies. Nobody is, other than a few select movies this year. The box office has been utterly terrible. You know what I mean? So and maybe year over year, it's doing better than it was last year. Certainly $2 billion movies will help that, in Oppenheimer and Barbie. But I don't think this is working. This constant lecturing the audience on how to be good citizens. People don't want it. They don't want what you're selling them.
Yeah.
Well, I would say the Disney movies that have the gay characters. Again, gay is my catch-all. How do they do? Strange World bombed. Lightyear bombed. Elemental might be successful, but it fought off a lot to get there. The Eternals bombed. Like one of the worst Marvel movies. I think they also had gay characters in the Star Wars universe. that doesn't make the movie better. We had gay representation, what, in Bros? Is that going to be the hallmark? We had gay representation, what, in, or maybe Joyride? That didn't make the movie any better. Just having a gay character is not going to make your movie better. And really, I've said this repeatedly. In terms of population, there is an overrepresentation of gay characters in film and on television. The gay population, I still believe, is what, 7% of the overall American population. You've got it at 12%, 26%. All of these studios who are making so many films that have gay characters. And of course, I don't see anything wrong with having gay characters because gay people exist. To be fair, some of the gay people I know are probably much more Trump support. You know, they're Trump supporters, so they don't see that in films. It's just it's just overrepresentation in terms of the population to the actual to film and television. But none of the films that Disney is celebrating as terms of representation have been good. They did improve the movie. Was Lightyear?
It's not even in terms of representation. All of their movies suck. Like, and they've committed to this for many years now, and their quality has gotten significantly worse.
Strange World was celebrating its biracial gay teen, and who went to see it? No one. And it had nothing to do with that it had a biracial gay teen. It was that it wasn't a good movie. Lightyear had a lesbian marriage and a child that was a grandchild that was born out of it. It didn't make the movie any better. Elemental has what, the gender fluid character, and I'm assuming it's one of the water people that's the gender fluid.
Just real quick, because Neozoic here says, didn't Elemental bomb too? Elemental made $846 million on a $200 million budget. So when you affected marketing, it did in fact lose money. So
yeah, so it's just none of these films. If you're going to make a movie and just say, well, we're putting a gay character because we need a gay character, we need representation, that's not going to improve the film one bit. And for these dramas, like Philadelphia, I mean, that's the last movie
Moonlight.
Moonlight. You know, again, my mom saw it and she said, did they give it the Oscar for being the most depressing film of the year? It's like, that didn't improve the movie at all. Although I like Moonlight, for the record.
No, it's so funny. Just want to say this real quick about Moonlight. So one of my favorite film critic, Brett Easton Ellis, said, you know, my biggest problem with Moonlight was the fact that, like, you know, like that he's just this tough gangster dude who's hiding his sexuality. Like, it's just like that whole thing is just so like, okay, yeah, I'm sure that dude exists somewhere in history, but like, you're making a movie.
Yeah, he
about
was on
him?
The Wire.
Really?
Cider, let me ask you a question here. You're big on the technology. Is there any kind of way that, like via VPN, that we could just start getting like the Saudi Arabian version of all these streaming services? Because that seems like to be the only way we can possibly go at this point to escape global homo. You agree at this point?
I mean, you just answered your own question. You know, set your VPN to Saudi Arabia, and you probably won't see so much of this.
Look,
apparently, it's
I'm
an
sorry.
Indian.
I like sex. I don't want to give up sex in movies. And the fact that, like,
oh well, you're gonna get sex. It's just not gonna be the sex that you want.
I know, but that's what I mean. Is like, but the reason I love like film noir so much is like the setup of, hey, you're gonna do something you shouldn't do because you're convinced by an incredibly hot woman that will probably end up murdering you. But hey, you're gonna get some tail. You're gonna like have an exciting adventure, and then you're gonna die. Like that's
perfect. Now that woman's gonna have.
But it wasn't overt. I mean, Body Heat was more overt. But you understood, like in Out of the Past, where you have that big storm as they're in the room together. Yeah. I understand what's going on without me having to be shown a wild sex scene. Yeah. So that's when they force them. You see, this is the joys of the Hayes office, the production code. So yeah, and I don't really imagine that having a gay sex scene is going to improve the movie. We three, Jacob, Rob, and I all had to watch Bros. we saw a lot of gay sex, and that didn't improve the movie. Not even
And
close.
child grooming. You forgot about the child grooming too. There was that in there.
And I'll just say that my gay bestie didn't even want to go see it.
That should
and
be
they
a
was
sign.
Because
they
all
was
this
charging
shit
them.
is just so like forced and it's faked. I mean, hell, one of my favorite films is called Tokyo Godfathers. It's an anime film made by a really great director, and one of the characters in the movie is trans. The reason why it works is because the film is written in a way that requires like the character to be trans. It's not, well, we made this script, we have to throw someone that's gay in here, or we have to throw someone that's trans in here. Oh, well, we have this non-binary it. Let's just throw them in it. Like, it's all forced, it's all fake, and people can tell. That's why all, like, bro, I don't want to go see any of these movies in the theater. They're insufferable. They're a waste of time. They're completely ignoring fundamental filmmaking for the sake of my diversity, and that's why these movies end up being shit. Some of it is on account of this fake ass forced diversity, and some of it is because instead of actually working on your fundamentals to make good film, you're worried about this nonsensical faked bullshit to begin with. And because of that, I have no interest in seeing just about any movie that comes out every single year. At most, I have maybe like three that I look forward to in a year. I'm fucking 30 years old. You know, like, I'm the person you're supposed to be making film for. I'm not a fucking person in my 60s that you don't give a shit about anymore. I am a key market demographic, and I would rather die than see the mass majority of shit you sling on the fucking theater screen. So get your shit together. Stop being worried about this nonsense, because it's going to kill your company. Disney is dying. Yes, they're on the high levels of my diversity, but they're fucking dying because they're more worried about this shit and more worried about having fucking grown-ass men with beards selling fucking dresses to your little girls at Disney. And guess what? They're eating dick when it comes to money. So you can continue to be all about my diversity and think you're doing the right thing. Well, you're fucking dying because you think you're doing the right thing. You're trying to convince yourself you're doing the right thing. Nobody fucking cares about your fake attempts to be virtuous. So stop fucking preaching to us.
I just want to point out just real quick before Rick starts rambling on for 8 minutes again, is that Disney stock is down 46% since they decided that they were going to go to war with Ron DeSantis. Just, what was it, a couple of years, like last summer, like literally last spring, I should say. So it's only been a year and a half since the war started, and they're down 46% on stock price. So everything's going great.
What I'm puzzled by is the idea that they're sad that only 1% of the gay characters are disabled. I mean, do they really think that there's a market for films around a gay character in a wheelchair or someone who has like
Okay,
some kind of
just
disability?
as a point, my brother is deaf. Okay, do you think that he's ever asked for a deaf character to be portrayed on screen? No. You know why? Because he's not a fucking loser. Okay, he likes the same shit that I grew up with, that we grew up with. You know what I mean? We grew up with Blade Runner and Aliens and Terminator and all the same shit that has been successful for our age range. And it's like it's not. Don't insult these people. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it just seems so strange. Again, I go back to that Kids in the Hall skit where at the end the art teacher is so frustrated by all the requirements that his students are asking that he at one point just says, I'm sorry, it's just that naked, fat, black, lesbian cripples are so hard to come by. Because it's just so absurd. But now we're getting to a point where a Kids in the Hall sketch is almost a requirement. And we're going to get that.
It's a training video.
Yeah, we're going to get a movie that centers around a naked, fat, black, lesbian cripple. It's going to be,
it's April O'Neil in the animated Ninja Turtles. She's black, bisexual, fat, disabled. Right? She's disabled.
I don't know, and this even goes to
likely.
Well, I don't want to say.
I mean, she's black, so I mean that would make.
Hey yo!
He said it. Nobody else did.
I don't think I heard what you said. I'm just really puzzled by these demands that we need to have the diversity character to have a diversity character. You should have a character that works best. It's not going to make any sense to have a wheelchair bound Blanche Dubois who's also Asian. Unless you're going to make it an all Asian version, like you had an all black cast of Hello Dolly. It's not going to make any sense to have like a disabled Blanche Dubois or like a hearing impaired Professor Higgins or I don't know a gay I don't know what I'm trying to think of a gay character like a gay Hamlet. I don't know. Maybe you can have a gay Hamlet. Point being, it needs to serve the character. It needs to serve the story. Having the lesbian couple in Lightyear did not improve the movie one bit. Having the biracial gay teen in Strange World did not improve the movie.
But like I said, this isn't about improving movies. This isn't about making movies better. It's just about having more of them on screen so they can reshape our society and reshape how we view these people. They think that by putting 25 to 50% of them in every single movie, that somehow we're going to make them seem more favorable in society than they actually are. This is why Black Lives Matter is run by mostly lesbians. This is why GLAAD is run by mostly lesbians. Even a lot of people in Hollywood and high positions are all mingling with them, all in the same group. There seems to be a pattern here with this group of people here. We keep going to this over and over and over again.
So I do wonder, is this why generationally there's an increase in the gay population? I mean, Gen Xers have...
Well, hold on a second. Are you saying that there's a cause and correlation here between the increase of the LGBTQ in media versus what it is in society?
None. Well, no, I'm not saying that, but it is curious that my generation, Gen X, we're at 7% gay that identify as gay. Millennials.
Well, how many trans characters were in the Cosby Show?
I don't know, but thanks to the Cosby Show and the Jeffersons, my mom assumed that all black people were rich. So I would just say that now was it the Zoomers are identify as 20%. So either the gay population is somehow increasing biologically, or maybe there are some people who might. I don't know. It's strange to me. I just don't quite understand. I don't want to say that they're somehow converted into being gay. It just seems such a strange concept.
I think I think your brain just doesn't want to come to the correlation. But Cider, I'll give Cider the last point here.
I'll tell you how it happens. Okay, so like, you remember Queenie from? Well, maybe not. She was on the John Delarose Dankstream show for quite a while. She was a college student. Okay, and so she defined herself as a lesbian until she went to college and met a boy, and upon meeting a boy, started to confess some things and was saying that she hadn't ever been actually involved with a woman romantically, even, let alone physically. And the only reason why she was categorizing herself as a lesbian is because she likes boobs. And that's all it takes. If you as a man, if you as a teenage boy appreciate the male figure, as in you want to have muscles like Arnold Schwarzenegger, you're gay. You're gay.
Yep.
If you're a woman and you think Angelina Jolie's 1990s gazungas are like admirable, well, you're gay. You're a lesbian. That's what
I can attest to this.
Simple.
As someone who has hosted a lot of actual bar events in my youth, I can say this, that the first person at a bar who wants to touch another girl's boobs are usually other women. Let's just put it that way. So.
Now, how this works is that by increasing the amount of gay in media, these people don't have any, the writers don't have any place to put them most of the time. They can't make them the protagonist. So they're making them a side character. They have to be special, so they stand out, so they get their magic points, putting so many gays in there. So you end up with, instead of, forgive the term, the magic Negro. You remember that in movies, right? Well, now you have the magic lesbo, the magic gay boy, and that's just the guy that just appears in the protagonist's friend group that has all of the answers and no personal problems of their own, but they're queer as folk.
No,
right?
we had that character already. That's a gay best friend trope, like from My Best Friend's Wedding. And
but the association of being straight has played itself out. So that's where this also where this term queer comes from, where it's like it's associated more with social politics than it is anything in terms of sexuality. It's like I literally, these people are so fucking mental. It's like this. You don't determine these things, dude. It's like who you're attracted to. It's pretty much set in from when you're born. Other than certain environmental influences or whatever. I don't know. Like I'm not a fucking whatever biologist, I guess. But yeah,
Just like the Supreme Court justice, you're not a biologist.
I'll leave it off with this final note here before we wrap things up. Look, if you guys want LGBTQ representation, there's always the WNBA. So keep in mind, everyone in this photo is biologically a woman.
Are you sure?
I mean, Russia wasn't very sure, so I can't really say for certain. But I can say
this looks like if a bunch of OnlyFans models grabbed onto that magic basketball from Space Jam,
it's
and
the
they got all the
Monstars.
players, they changed them into the Monstars, but they were OnlyFans models the scene before.
Yeah, I mean, there's Charles Barkley, there's Muggsy Bogues over there.
Little short gremlin.
Yeah, this is where we're at now, folks. But
Just
on
color
that,
in purple,
exactly.
Also, does the Space Jam like allege that Michael Jordan takes steroids? Because like
Yes.
those monsters get huge by drinking his water bottle, and I'm like, what's
Yeah,
in
the
that?
tunes. Yeah.
I thought that was the power of his gambling debts, but yeah, maybe we just
I'm still wrapped up that movie still has "I Believe I Can Fly" by R. Kelly still playing.
Okay, I'm still
Hey, it's a
sad
good
that your
song.
mother.
What do you want?
I'm still sad that your mother has never watched Good Times. Okay, you kind of.
No, well, yeah, she never. Yeah, she
And
never.
she
no,
never will.
No, she never. No, she never will.
Good Times was low key the best of the ones that you listed.
My mom
sir.
never saw the Jeffersons, but then you have to remember, bless my mom, and I'm not going to take that. I'm not going to take offense at that, Roberto.
Good, because I was like, I hope he doesn't hate me for this.
You've said worse things about me.
Okay.
All right, but I'll say
Damn it.
that. But my mom, whenever she found something particularly scandalous.
And on that note, we're gonna go ahead and go to the outros here. So
I literally made a very subtle joke that I didn't think anyone was even gonna get, and it became this insane like dog piling. Y'all are dicks.
So
a real Peyton Place, because that was the last soap opera she saw in English.
all right, then let's go ahead and give you guys the outro. We'll start with Rick here.
Well, first, I love my mom. Second, I will say that I'm just writing more reviews, more haikus, and I just had a piece published in the local online newspaper here about how I don't think commissioners should take a 16% pay raise while the county properties are falling apart. But
What is this subtext to your name?
Oh. You finally saw it after all this time. Yeah, well, I'm just trying to show my support to a beleaguered mother of
Sure
four.
you are.
I got your back, but somebody else has your front. I'll just say that about the Congresswoman. So that's just it. More reviews, more haikus, and just looking forward to good movies. God help us.
Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, Cassie, let's jump this one over to you. What do you got coming up, my fair lady?
Well, man, we got my live stream this Thursday. Going to be talking about all this Microsoft fiasco, as well as probably making fun of insane gaming fanboys. There's never a short amount. There's never a short supply of salt in the gaming community, so that's always going to be fun. And yeah, man, I just uploaded a few things. If you guys want to check that out, it's crazy times for gaming, and it's definitely things to be excited for as well to be concerned about. And a film that did not feature any LGBTQ plus representation was The Equalizer 3, and it somehow, shockingly was actually a good movie. So I endorsed that one from this year. So.
All right, we're hopping over to our good buddy Rob Motto, super employed Rob Motto now. What do you got coming up?
So I'm.
I just noticed you were.
So no, I'm working through my TCM Summer Under the Stars backlog. I only have 24 films left, which is a really good improvement over like the 40 plus I had in there since the beginning part of August. And then starting in October, I'm going to be watching nothing but horror movies. I did it a few years ago and it turned out really well. So if you have any recommendations, throw them my way. Just trying to, kind of get in the Halloween spirit. And I want to actually start writing soon. So I think probably in the new year, I'm going to watch less movies and start writing more about them. This is probably my third or fourth time to try to get restarted. And I've just been incredibly lazy. So gonna try to actually start doing that soon. So just keep following on my Twitter, and rest in peace Nick Chubb and his life
in his career. And then Cider, you got something coming up, my friend. What do you got going?
I'm on the Dank stream and Bounding Beyond whenever we do that, and the Black Pill stream and the Stank stream and Dillard Draws sometimes. Yeah, I get around.
Like Boebert?
No, not like that. Get around. Not like that. Get around. I have some rules. I particularly don't.
You're not going to allow yourself to become the town bicycle like some people.
Well, you did run a taxi, so.
Oh my!
Can I be off screen now?
For the better, probably.
It's probably for the best at this point. Let you guys know what we got coming up. So here's the thing. This Friday, we're supposed to be reviewing The Expendables, but because of the situation out of my control, I don't know if we're going to be doing it for certain on Friday night. So if for right now, follow us on Twitter, Society Movies on the Twitter account. I'll make a note on YouTube. We're expecting the show to go on as planned. If it does not, I'll make the announcement that we're going to postpone that show. But like I said, it's because I won't know until Friday afternoon whether that show is going to happen or not. But if it does, it'll be an Expendables 4 review at 10 p.m. on Friday night on all the socials here. So keep that in mind. And then we're going to be talking about me, Rick, and Rob. We're going to talk about kind of the direction with that show that we want to do, because we want to do some more retro reviews, which will also include some more retro nights. That way we can have some more guests and have some more fun on Friday nights as well. So we're working that whole thing out too. So just bear with us on Friday. We'll see exactly where that one goes. But until then, we have so Monday night on our Bible Lens podcast. If you haven't seen last night's show, which is the second part on Judaism, go back and watch that one. Very informative. We talk about the Babylonian Talmud, which has a lot of very interesting stuff. If you haven't read it, definitely go check that out. And then this week, we're going to be talking about essentially the sin of luxury and how it promotes a lot of immoral behaviors there. So that's what we're doing on Monday night. And then, of course, next week, we're back here, episode 67 of the Barroom Podcast. We're going to have more stuff going on this Monday night as well. So to everyone who joined us on our show tonight, our new mods, Neozoic, Zeodozer, and Alex versus Evil. Sorry, and I was supposed to say Duke Nukem as well. I want to throw them out there too. So everyone who joined us there, everybody else, Kate, Volume Dealer, JEC, Vanya, Leslie Tarkin, Mephisto, who joined us tonight, Drax the Clown, Big Ol' Met, who stopped by for a little bit with us here tonight. I want to make sure I get everyone in here before we wrap this one up. TW, oh yeah, I forgot to mention TW and Orange Hat had to hop off a little bit earlier because of technical issues, but say hey to them and go subscribe to their channels, because I know they're working on pretty good stuff there as well. We have Seal, Cactus Jones, I think we got everyone here for the most part. Spencer too, but I mean, do we really need to give him any shout out? I don't think he deserves it. DK, like I said, those are all those guys. Thank you guys for joining us here. Like I said, tomorrow night, by the way, Bounding in the Comics, we'll also be doing the Black Pill stream, so you'll be seeing me and Cider again on that one. I'm pretty sure we'll talk about Star Wars for 2 hours, or at least John will talk about it for 2 hours, and we'll just be playing Game Boys in the background or something like that, like we usually do. But until then, then, thank you guys for joining us. Hopefully we'll see you guys Friday night. Like I said, I'll keep you guys in touch about what's going on there. If I don't make an official announcement, that means that show will happen as planned, so just keep an eye out for that. But until then, we're going to hit the outro, get on out of here. For all my panelists joining us here tonight, thank you for another Tuesday night. We're out of here. Good night, goodbye, outro time.
It's over. Go home.
Get the hell out! Get out! Get out!